ciencia.
Me, myself, and I, still pushing forward, I'm ahead like die. Standing on my flow with my head to the sky. Pass on a bitch, young rip, drop dimes. It's been a rough road, gotta look for the signs. I'm married to this music, so I cook for my bride. Flip out like a skateboarder, look how I grind. It took a long time, but I'm right on time. I'm progressing, that's progressive, I got bars like a correction. Still chasing petty cash, that's a mantis. I want extra, I stop searching for my pops. I hold my nuts just like a checkup. I get physical, I'm copping just like Interpol. I play on words like a syllable, to me the world is fading. Hold this L just like a Laker, like a birthday, my shit caking. It get messy like an apron, I pick out just like some bacon, and I sizzle like it too. Can't forget about you, boo, it feel like we on a loop. Same shit, different day, I don't know what's really true. I get high as I leave hoops, who gon' give me what I'm owed? Man, I guess nobody knew, and I know that money talks, so what it said is probably true. It's the feeling that I get, and the shit I'll probably do to get through or get by. I get fly, cause I'm Jeff Goldblum in my mind. Tell them hoes to fall in line. If you thought I fell off, bitch, I'm back like my spine. Hot as homemade pie, that's the pro rate, ma. I'm a pro, ain't I? Sniff it out like K9s. I'm a thief, it take time to be great, I'm Bayside. I get blue like Kelly Parker, when I'm gone I left a mark. Tell them fish I'm still a shark, I got will, I will embark on this journey till it's finished. In the midst of all this friction, I got vision on my P's like no limit. Like a mouse, now we clicking, I go out for the spinach, that's business.
Cut the cord that kept us connected, blacking out the mirror where your light once reflected. All of the love from up above, we used to feel like a glove. I still think about the you that only exists in my brain. Nothing ever stays the same, guess it's just a shame. There's no one to blame.
Stop looking for somebody else to lay the blame. Without a wave of change, life stays the same. So when I pull up to your spot, I'm with a paradigm chick. Only used to have one and it's my paradigm ship. Cause for celebration, I cracked a hen. I took a hiatus, but I'm back again. A bunch of blue face hundreds, I've been stacking them. Cause in the game of life, I just have to win. So when I'm in go mode, I be ballin' insane. Tried to walk away, they was calling my name. My brothers from another, we are all in the game. Don't give a fuck about clout nor all of the fame. I'm trying to inspire, empower, build and progress at a steady rate. Move heavyweight like a Bowflex. The haters make me greater, they mad, I got them so stressed. Shock my style for a while now, I can show text. Screenshots as proof and receipts. You a certified clown, been a goof in the streets. Angel made the beat, but this my demon flow. Get a lot of love from people I don't even know. And when the situation's ugly like Dudley, we do right. Fuck propaganda, let's conquer and unite. The wait's over, take over, it's commencing. My money fully grown, and yours like an infant. But that ain't no shade to you, it's just provision and protection, what you made to do. Being a man with a purpose, who you supposed to be. Living life as a loser, that's a joke to me. FN 509, stay close to me. If I pull it, I'ma spray like some potpourri. I don't wanna have to go there, so hopefully you don't try to have no beef or no smoke with me. Bro, everything I'm talking about, be backing it up. I'm back in the cuts, rapping the Dutch and Mac in the hut. She start to get aroused when I'm smacking her butt. Baby got stupid cheeks and she be clapping it up. I'ma enter through the front and hit the back of her guts. She a classy lady but be acting a slut. When we be kissing and cuddling, my bitch like to hug. Her box customized so it fit like a glove. radios up. Turn your radios up. Y'all know what this is. Y'all know who this is. B-Eazy Dat Dude, an impromptu stream back with another one. This one is gonna be a banger. Will ruffle some feathers, so it will be a doozy. Now, I don't like to keep y'all waiting, so before we get this thing started, you know, you know, gotta hit you.
If you know the song, sing along. Yeah, you're right.
私も地元民と言っても地元
さすがにです。もう友達できたの？
ぶったまんまこっち見ない方がいいかも。
Look, this promethazine got me leaning like a cholo in the club. I'm 20 deep. I don't be riding solo. Pull some bad bitches, they vanilla and cocoa. They wanna take some photos when we kick it out in Soho. Chicks are showing tits and popping pussy for my promo. Told them like juvenile, baby, move it for me slow mo. Then I'm right back to the block, cause I keep getting moto. I be flipping, not shrinking. I don't give a fuck about no ho, no ho. This nigga name ain't D-Lo, but pimpin' these bitches and stacking this bread forever be my stilo. This is B-Eazy Dat Dude in the trap making pass smooth. If I ever go broke, then I'm about to pull a jack move. Since a nigga healthy, I don't even gotta worry. With my bitch from Fiji, eating tandoori and chicken curry. That ism is really indie. My pimp game international. I design my own clothes, so I be always looking fashionable. Here's a couple facts about me that y'all didn't know. Some of y'all be getting bread, but I be getting bigger, dawg. I got bigger guns and a whole lot of bad. And we are activated. And it looks like we might have already been joined by some illustrious guests. Mr. Early Never Late, Chakra King. We've got the exquisite and the elegant Tory Experience. We got A-Tay-Bay, A-Tay-Bay, and John Cien, one of the coldest, dopest, and the realest to ever pick up a pen in building. We gonna get right into this thing. Y'all seen the title. Y'all seen the thumbnail. What is with this desperate attempt to Africanize everything that we do? Our entire existence? Somehow we owe it all to Africa? According to who? And this isn't against, I'm not Afrophobic, I'm not xenophobic or anything like that. So if you notice, right, most white Americans, or should I say all white Americans, they have European ancestry, but you barely even hear them using the term Europe in reference to themselves. They don't use the term, a broad term like European. They use it when they want to maybe galvanize people. But no, they don't go around broadly using the term European. They delineate. They say, yeah, I'm of European descent, but I'm Irish, I'm Italian, I'm Polish, right? But with us, we're supposed to pretend that we're just all African, one big global Negro that's all the same. And when you go to the continent of Africa, they're all saying that they're different. And then they come here and say, hey, we're all the same. Why are you being divisive? You mean, why am I acting the way you act in your homeland? We were the ones going around subscribing to the one drop rule saying, you all black, one drop of melanin, one drop of African Negro blood, and you're just like us. That was us saying that. That wasn't these other groups saying that. No one is saying if you have one teeny tiny drop of European Anglo blood, that makes you white. But then we do say if you have one teeny tiny drop of African, Negroid, foundational Black American freedman lineage, then that makes you that. It only like works one way. You're seeing it with the Nolan Wells case. The dude is literally biracial. He's a quote unquote black kid, but he's biracial. You can see his Asian features in him and his mother. It's a beautiful thing. Handsome young man. And what's is horrible that he's receiving the injustice when it comes to his case, right? But Asian people don't really see him as Asian, even though he is Asian, because he has several drops of melanin. Oh, yeah, you black, you with the blacks. Oh, he's Asian too. Like, there should be as much outrage, right? Because he's biracial. He's partly black and he's partly Asian. So, yeah, it should be partly black outrage and partly Asian outrage. But you don't see that. Asians don't give a darn what happened to Nolan Wells. I'm just drawing a distinction and making an example, right? People pretend as if they care about solidarity, going around calling yourself a POC, using terms like minorities and marginalized groups and, people of the global south and stuff. It sounds cute, but none of these groups are trying to unite with you. It's unfortunate, and maybe one day it will happen, but no, they're not trying to do that. Oh, you said my sound is low? Hold on. Give me one moment. Hold on. My bad. Thank you for saying that, Tay-Bay. Give me one moment. Let me try to adjust that for y'all. I appreciate that though. All right, hold on. All right, let me know now. Could you hear me? Could you hear me clearly? Hey, come on, John. Damn, John. Not my brother. Y'all let me know. Could y'all hear me? I'm gonna talk a little bit and y'all let me know before I proceed because this one will be a banger. But hey, John, Johnny boy, Jonathan.
And I quote, you know your damn role and shut your damn mouth.
Now, if y'all didn't hear me, I know y'all heard that. If y'all didn't hear me, did y'all hear the rock? Did you at least hear the rock? Forget me. Forget what I gotta say. Did you hear the rock? Okay, got you. Roger Meadows hears me. And shout out to Roger Meadows, the East Coast finest, Mr. Nassau County. I appreciate you. Yeah, and Tiger Woods didn't even call himself Blasian. He called himself like Cauca Africa Blasian, like he made up with something crazy because he said he didn't want to erase his mother's heritage, and that's fine. I think that that's okay. The only thing people just have an issue with the tethering, where you're wearing your blackness like a costume. For one, you spend a whole entire time we're saying, oh, I don't want to be black. Why you call yourselves black? Black is just a color. And then when you see how much cultural, relevance, cultural cachet that people have created under blackness, then you try to double back and triple back. Hey, big head, I'm black too. And then they frame everything as colorism, but it's not really that. Because when someone says that they're mixed or biracial, there's nothing wrong with that. If you want to go on a technicality, we all could claim some sort of admixture, right? But it's basically how you phenotypically present and also how you identify, because if you believe in it being a social construct, which that's up to you, right? People, the experts, right? The experts say that 99.9% of human DNA is the same. So that saying means that race is a biological construct, a social construct, but the construct, it requires adherence of the public. Once people adhere to the social construct, like there's no point to complain about it, right? They'll say, I don't see color, race is not real. And then in the very next sentence, they'll be talking about black on black crime. But why aren't you talking about human on human crime if race is not real? So it does have real, detrimental effects for people that are pretending that they're colorblind, as you're seeing, unfortunately, that's happening in some of these recent cases. So all we're saying is like, it's fine. I don't think people should be trying to impose blackness on other people. If it's a construct, you do need some level of internal and intellectual sovereignty of that person to claim what they believe is right, how they rightfully identify. So some people say, hey, I'm biracial. Don't try to put me in a black box because I'm mixed with white, or I'm mixed with Asian, or I'm mixed with, fill in the blank. So don't try to say that I'm one or the other when I'm both. You know what I mean? So, and we've been joined by the marvelous my boo. What it did it do? Salute to you. I'm sure you over there cooking up some snacks for the kiddo and the hubby. You making some? What's on the menu today? Some sandwiches, some pizza rolls, a fruit cup. What you got on the menu? What's on my's menus? But let's get into it, right? And salute to any of the illustrious guests that are lurking that don't want to make it revealed. I know some people get triggered. Oh, I can't let people know that, you're watching my content. I understand. It's all good. It's no hard feelings. I appreciate the viewership. Now, I'm going to react to a content by the lovely Lady Boulay. She has a video titled, Why is the World Obsessed with Black Americans? Let's get into it.
106 and Dr. Soul Brother. Thank you for all you do to support this channel. And yes, we are commanded.
Hold on. What you mean nothing today? Nothing on the menu? Hold on, I gotta hit you.
Stop the cap. Stop the cap right now. Stop the cap.
Come on, you ain't whipped up nothing. So what? If you ain't whipped up nothing, I know you got some fruit snacks, some gushers, some applesauce, some Go-Gurts, not yogurts, but the Go-Gurts you in the tube. Come on, don't tell me that kitchen is bare. But let's get back into it though. I can't believe what I'm seeing. I can't believe what I'm hearing. But please like, share, and subscribe. It won't cost you a fee. The likes are free. Let's get into it.
To love one another, whether we want to or not, or whether we agree with each other or not. And today I'm asking a simple question. Why is the world obsessed with Black Americans?
Europe, right? Say I'm born, say I would be raised in like Sweden, like I was, right? Mm-hmm. I'm 50% Swedish because my mom's like actually from, like, her parents from Sweden, like more whatever. But I know it's mixed, obviously, clearly, right? Yeah. But a lot of people in America, they could be black, like, I'm talking like dark skin, but they say they're from Michigan. Fuck you mean you're from Michigan? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, you were born in Michigan, yeah, like you were raised there. But like, you know what damn well, like, they shouldn't say they from Michigan. Nah, like, you're not from Michigan. Why you claim Michigan for? Like, you're born and raised in Michigan. Yeah, like, they should just say my people have been in Michigan for a while. Yeah, like something like that. Like, but like in Sweden, if you ask somebody, they're like, I'm from Palestine, I'm from whatever. Like, I'm from, like, we have a lot of like culture in there, bro. Like a lot of culture.
I never realized how many people are so uneducated.
Did y'all hear what this little light bright dude said? And has nothing to do with him being light, because when you're a foundational Black American freedman, we come in all shapes and colors. But did y'all hear what bro said? Don't trip. I'm going to run it back one more again. But hey, whoever that light-skinned lunatic was, hey, I gotta hit you. What?
Hope, please.
Nigga, please.
Hope.
Nigga, what?
Nigga. Nigga, please. Nigga, please.
What?
And to be clear, look at someone like Prince, a foundational Black American, got some of the lightest skin, and nobody ever considered Prince of being a tap dancing, step and fetch it raccoon. This dude over here is from Sweden, and he's over here trying to tell people, hey man, look how dark your skin is. You ain't really from Michigan. You from Africa. Huh? Nigga, who the fuck are you to try to tell me who and where I'm from? And this is the whole thing, bro. You're an immigrant. You're a biracial immigrant who immigrated to America, right? Your family fled to another part of Europe, bro. We don't even have the same lineage, bro. But because he has one teeny tiny drop of melanin, somehow he could speak for us? No, man, this little moist, goofy nigga don't speak for me. Let me rewind that one more again. Why are you saying you from Michigan? Look how dark your skin is. You really from Africa. Where am I from in Africa? I don't know. So you don't know where you're from in Africa because you're not from there. And because you don't know, then they say, see, you just don't know your history. All of your history is in Michigan. Your family fought, bled, and died in Michigan. Your family was responsible for the boom and bustling economy in Michigan. You can't say that about Africa, right? You didn't build anything in Africa. You didn't fight in any war in Africa. None of your style is African. None of your cultural practices are African. But you owe it to Africa because someone told you that. And because someone put it on paper. Look, on paper, we put African, and somebody from outside of your lineage called you African, so you have to say you're African. We've been here longer than many of these so-called heritage Americans. So we've been here before America was a country, but you have to claim Africa, a place, claim Nigeria. But it's like, my family is from a place that's older than Nigeria. Yeah, they ain't really from there though. They're from Nigeria. But that place wasn't even called Nigeria. So you have to claim a plot of land that wasn't called Nigeria. That's what they want, for you to just be a generic African. But no one is telling any other group to be a generic Asian. Let's talk about the so-called native tribes. Who the hell are the Native Americans? You don't even know. You hear that word and this was their land. Who was there? Who is the there that you're talking about? Many of the so-called natives now look like Macaulay Culkin and Justin Bieber. They were indigenous to Europe, but somehow you're calling them indigenous. There's no race called indigenous. So who the hell are you talking about? They're the natives, the true natives. Okay, why are there 500 plus federally recognized tribes? Why aren't they calling themselves one big Native American, one big Indian, one big indigenous? Why are they delineating? So even the so-called natives say, hey, no, we're not the same, right? We honor the Choctaw, but Choctaw is not the same as Seminole. We honor the Blackfoot, but it's not the same as Navajo. But somehow we're the only group that has to collapse our entire identity into being some generic African. They claim these so-called natives are Siberian and they came from Asia. Okay, cool. So racially they're Asian, right? Oh, no. They're not Asian because after year and decade after decade on this land, they became a new distinct ethnic and racial group. Oh, you mean they had an ethnogenesis just like we did? There's no way that you can reproduce me on the continent of Africa because you would need that exact admixture. You would need a combination of European. You would need a combination of indigenous. You would need a combination of freedmen here and formerly enslaved people. They don't have that mixture there. So how could you reproduce the same person? You can't. They just convince you that it's the same person simply based on skin pigment. But there's a bunch of Asians that have the same skin pigment as white people, but they're not white. So you know the skin pigment alone doesn't justify your lineage. And even if I was to subscribe to this, construct of race, on the continent of Africa, 54 countries, 3,000 tribes, 2,000 different dialects. Does that sound united to you? North Africa isn't united with East Africa. North Africans don't even want to call themselves African. They're literally African. No, I'm Arab. I'm Muslim. I'm Middle Eastern. You're African. They're literally more African than I ever could be. But they come over here and guess what North Africans are classified as? White. Free Palestine. Guess what Palestinians are classified as? White. Lebanese. White. Egyptians. White. Israelis, white. Now you can do a song and dance and say that they're not white, or why are they classified that way? Are we saying that the census is a crock of you know what? Because why are these groups classified as white? And it won't be into 2030 that they're classified as something different. They'll have a box to check called MENA, Middle Eastern North African. And again, there's no race called Middle Eastern. There's no race called Muslim. And there's definitely no race called MENA. But that is an ethnic and cultural identity that they do have the option to check starting in 2030. But right now it's still 2026. So in that meantime, what are they identifying as? So really think about this. Palestinians are currently classified as white, but you're still calling them a person of color. No, they are people of color because they're not white. They're just classified as white. I mean, there's no gun to their head forcing them to check white. There is a box that says other. They can check that box and write in Palestinian, but that's not what most do. That's not what most Lebanese people do. That's not what most Syrian people do. They check the white box and then you call them white, and they don't want you to call them what they ethnically identified as. So again, let me run this back before I break this down. Again, like, look at this dude, like, bruh. And then I don't even know what the lineage of this other dude is. It's like, bruh, we don't need you random goofballs speaking for us, bruh. You're not of the lineage. He said he's a biracial Swedish dude. Speak for the biracial. Speak for the Swedes, right? You see what I'm saying? He didn't even call himself a black man. He called himself biracial. But then when you call him biracial, then they start talking about colorism. Barack Obama and Michelle Obama called him biracial. Barack Obama is a biracial Kenyan. Where's the lie? Now it's a slur to call a biracial person biracial. Now, as a foundational Black American, we have many biracial people part of our community, because if you're biracial and you identify as Black, then we say, hey, you're one of us. But if you're biracial, mulatto, mixed with something, and you say, hey, I don't want to be identified as Black, I want to honor both. That's why I'm saying that I'm mixed. I'm both. I'm not one or the other. People have to honor that. Stop trying to force your identity of Blackness, because remember, it's a social construct. So ethnicity is fluid, right? That's how Italians weren't white and then they became white, because it's fluid, right? So, hey, there's a biracial person and they say, you know what? I'm Black in my soul and my body and my bones. We'll say, hey, welcome aboard. Now, just because you're Black doesn't mean that you're a foundational Black American. You may be a Black Caribbean person, right? You may be a Black African, right? And it's a beautiful thing to acknowledge and honor those distinctions. We don't have to try to collapse each other and say that we're all the same based on a teeny tiny drop of a social constructed fallacy. But again, neither of these cats speak for us. One of the dudes is a suspected tether. If he's not a tether, he is definitely had some instances where he was kind of tap dancing and doing soft pedaling of coonery. Then we got this other light-skinned immigrant biracial dude trying to say that you're not really from the soil. You really from Africa, but he can't prove that he's from Africa. Like, dude, your family fled to a European nation. Like, no offense, but you're an anchor baby. You're not really qualified to talk about what someone needs to do and, our identity. But shout out to the hardest working mod on YouTube, Vibrant Low. And of course, we got Frank Nitty, Mr. Gritty, putting on for the bitty. For the sake of accuracy, Palestine is in Asia. However, Egypt, Libya, Algeria, Morocco is probably what you're thinking. No, I said what I was thinking. Palestine, well, what I'm saying is, technically, if you want to get on a technicality, this is why. So when Palestinians come over, they're considered Middle Eastern, right? They're not considered Asian. Now, on a technicality, we could say that Palestinians are Asian, but what Palestinians go around saying they're Asian, and this is the whole point of the social construct, and it gets conflated with religious identity, ethnic identity, cultural identity. So when they have the box which is going to say Middle Eastern North African, do you think most Palestinians are going to check that box, or do you think they're going to check the box of Asian? Because technically Pakistani people are Asian, but they're just seen as Pakistani people, or they're seen as, something other than white. But no one really like delves into their race, right? Like, what race is Vivek Ramaswamy? You'll say he's Indian or something, yeah, but like, what race is he? You know what I mean? So people want to try to use race when it suits them, and then pivot back to religious thing. Well, he's Hindu, he's Buddhist, yeah, but there's no race called Hindu. But I get what you're saying though. Salute to you. Let's get back into it though. But just in case y'all tuned in, we're discussing the desperate attempt to overly Africanize our entire identity. So here we got this immigrant over here who's not even from America, and he's trying to tell us you're not really from here. Look how dark your skin is. You really from Africa. Like, no. So if I could say, bro, look how light your skin is, you're really from Europe. Like, what it just would sound idiotic.
Americans.
Europe, right? Say I'm born. Say I would be raised in like Sweden, like I was, right? I'm 50% Swedish because my mom's like halfway from, like her parents were Sweden, like more whatever. But I know it's mixed, obviously, clearly, right?
So you heard what he said. The Arabic name for the country is still Philistine. That bridge confuses people. Yes, many people are confused, and it's funny because a lot of these people, these are the people that purport to say that they have the highest IQs, but they're always confused by the tiniest of things. So here this person says, you didn't hear him use the term black once. He said that he's 50% Swedish. Nothing wrong with that, right? He said that he was mixed. He didn't say that he was black. He didn't say that he was African. You did hear him say that he was 50% Swedish. What is the other 50%? I didn't hear him say he was 50% black. Maybe I missed that. Let's rewind that. I did hear him big up the Swedish. I did hear him big up the mixed ancestry and biracial. So it's like, bruh, if you're going to say you're mixed, then you're mixed Monday, you're mixed 7 days a week. Don't tell us you're mixed Monday through Friday, and then on the weekends, I'm black just like you. That's why I'm at the cookout saying nigga. It's like, nah, bruh, just stay mixed. You know what I mean? There's nothing wrong with that, bruh. Don't be ashamed of your mixed identity. It's like black is not a costume. It's funny because people always call it a color. It's like, why are you claiming the color? If being black is so bad and you've reduced being black to just a color, why are you claiming that color?
Why is the world obsessed with Black Americans?
Europe, right? Say I'm born. Say I would be raised in like Sweden, like I was, right? I'm 50% Swedish because my mom's like halfway from, like her parents were Sweden, like more whatever. But I know it's mixed, obviously, clearly, right? Yeah. But a lot of people in America.
And shout out to is that man, I don't want to mess it up. So shout out to B from B. I'm gonna just call you B from B. Shout out to B from B. 50% Swedish, 50% coon. No, 50%. I disagree with this. I say it's 50% Swedish, 50% unknown, 100% coonery. This is some coonery right here. Now we can try to say, oh, well, he don't know no better. So I got a term for that. Inadvertent coonery, right? Maybe you don't know, but just because you're ignorant on a subject doesn't absolve you from the underhanded coonery. Some people don't know the difference between race and ethnicity. And that's why I'm saying I do have to concede that point. That's why I say sometimes there is some inadvertent coonery involved, but it does speak to your level of incompetence and ignorance where everybody thinks that they should be given a mic to speak freely on the issue just because it got trendy on TikTok or on Instagram. Not everyone is qualified to speak on these very nuanced and very serious cultural cultural discussions, right? You know, I don't want to hear someone that's outside of the Japanese lineage speak on the origins of samurai culture, right? I don't want to hear it from a Filipino. I don't want to say Filipinos are Asian. So let me ask them about samurai culture. If it originated in Japanese culture, I want to hear it from what they would say the horse's mouth. So if you want to talk about foundational Black American freedom and culture, you need to hear it from a multitude, not just one, not just myself, but a multitude of freedmen, right? I wouldn't say that, hey, I don't, if I want to know about Ashkenazi Jews, I'm not going to go ask a Sephardic Jew and say, hey, y'all both are Jewish. Could you tell me about what the Ashkenazi Jews do? Just because they're Jewish doesn't mean they do the same thing. Y'all notice the delineation in Christianity. Latter-day Saints, Jehovah's Witness, Pentecostal, you know what I mean? Mormon, you notice the delineation there. We can say that it's the same book, the same religion, right? But is it? Is it really the same book? Is it really the same religion? And even if it's the same religion, are the cultural practices the same? Is a Black church going to be the same experience as an Asian or a white church, or even an immigrant church that just got here? Is it going to be the same? We know that it's not. So are we pretending? And shout out to John, he's still rocking out. But, and John, if you want to hit the link, just let me know. But yeah, this dude is already getting on my nerves. So we can already see how the dude looks racially ambiguous. But hey, there's nothing wrong with. But you didn't hear him call himself Black. But yet he's trying to speak on Black issues. Mind your business, bruh. Mind your mixed business.
I'm not, they could be Black, like, I'm talking like dark skin, but they say they're from Michigan.
He said they can be black. I'm talking about dark skin. So remember, he said they could be Black. He never once is saying that he's Black. He did say he was mixed. So then if I say, nah, bro, this dude's not Black, he's mixed, there's colorism. How is it colorism? He identifies as mixed. I call him mixed, and somehow that's colorist. Barack Obama is a biracial Kenyan American. No, he's Black. And then, but what did I say that was wrong? Is he Kenyan? Yes. Is he biracial? Yes. So what's the issue? If you don't call him Black, then suddenly that's bigotry. By accurately identifying Obama as a biracial Kenyan, somehow that's xenophobic. Make it make sense. Even when Obama, he didn't even want to say that he was Black. He said, no, I'm African American. Why does he want to say that he's African American? Because he's Kenyan. Kenyan, African. This is what people do, which is why Elon Musk, Charlize Theron, and French Montana are all African American. Zoran Mamdani. No, he's not Black. Well, Black doesn't mean African. You've been indoctrinated for it to mean African, but it doesn't. Because Zoran Mandani, who was an Indian born in Uganda, right? His family is of that overseer Indian class in Uganda. He's a Ugandan Indian. So he's African, and he's also American. But then he also could say, well, I'm Indian and Indians are Asian. So he can check that he's Asian. He can check that he's African American, or he can check a other box and say, fill in the blank. This is what a construct is because it's fluid, right? It's nothing set in stone. And we're supposed to pretend that me and Zoran Mamdani are the same. He's African American, you're African American. Y'all the same. No, we're not. I didn't grow up eating the foods that Zoran Mamdani ate. I didn't grow up dressing in the garbs, but you're supposed to pretend that we're all the same based on some buzzwords and bumper stickers, right? You've been told that you're African. You don't know anything about Africa, but they just keep beating it over in your head. They're trying to replace everything. And even with the term Black, right? They're trying to collapse the term Black and try to just make it just flat mean African. But no, all these other groups, including Africans, think about this. Africans on the continent of Africa don't even call themselves African. Meanwhile, we're in America, built America, and there's an obsession with us calling us African because they want to try to, all it is just a grift and a money grab. What benefit and who does it serve for you to call yourself African? You fought in every war here. You didn't fight in any wars in Africa. All of your inventions and creations were created here. They weren't created in Africa. Your recipes are here. How could these be African recipes when they don't even have many of the same spices? They don't have access to the same foods, right? Tell me a story about an African cowboy. There's nothing African about that. If being a cowboy was so African, we should see a litany of cowboys today. But a concept of being a cowboy is from a foundational Black American culture, right? So people try to conflate similarities and pretend as if it's the same. Same means identical. A jaguar is similar to a leopard, but they're not the same cat. An alligator and a crocodile are similar, but they're not the same. You said, I'm going to add the vowels. This dude dressed like FBA, talk like FBA. He doesn't have a Swedish accent. And this is what I'm trying to say, bruh. He's saying that he's 50% Swedish, but 100% of his swag is from FBA. It's like, bro, we don't kind of need you wagging your fingers, bro. And they try to come over here because the thing is his 50% Swedish side, because he said he's mixed, which means he's half white. His white side doesn't listen to him because they see him as black, and he doesn't even want to call himself black. He wants to call himself mixed while talking to the blacks. It's like, no, you need to go talk to other mixed people. The thing is with many mixed people, right? If you're 50% black or 50% Asian, right? And you want to wag your fingers, well, you should be wagging your fingers at the black community 50% of the time and the Asian community 50% of the time. But that's not what happens. They try to say, oh, the Asian community don't accept me, even though I'm partly Asian, so I'm going to just lash out on the niggas. It's like, nah, that we ain't having that, bruh. But let's get back into it. See what this Swedish tether has to say.
I'm not, they could be black, like, I'm talking like dark skin, but they'll say they're from Michigan. Fuck you mean from Michigan? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah.
Even the whole, fuck you mean. Is that Swedish? Fuck you mean, fuck you mean. Does that sound Swedish to you? So his whole vernacular, his whole swag is from FBA, but but look, this is the only, did y'all hear what he said? Just because of how dark you are, you have to be from African. And this is the whole out of Africa theory. So everyone with a darker shade of melanin, y'all from Africa, there's a bunch of dark-skinned, negroid featured Asiatic people. They're not African. They're literally Asiatic, but then they're still, well, they originally came from Africa when? 10,000, 20,000 years ago. So even if they did come from there, they're not African anymore. The same thing that they say with the so-called natives. Yeah, they came from Asia, but after years and generations on this soil, they are no longer Asiatic. They became something different. But with us, no matter century after century, 500 years pass, you still African. 1,000 years pass, you still African. 20,000 years, never forget that you still African. But Native Americans who allegedly came from Asia are no longer Asian. They're just a new group. What made them a new group? Well, you know, by the conditions of this land, they give you all the same arguments that people are saying here. Anything that we built here, you can't point to it in Africa. I mean, where are the jazz players in Africa pre us creating it? Where are the hip hop rap artists in Africa prior to us creating it? And this isn't to dump on Africa. It's a beautiful place with beautiful people. What I'm just saying is, just because we have a similar level of melanin and similar phenotypes don't mean that we're the same. It just doesn't. And doesn't mean that everyone came from there. It's mathematically impossible with all of the lies that they tell you. On one hand, they'll tell you that, you know, the black man and the African man is the original inhabitant millions of years old, right? They always talk about the out of Africa theory, right? So they'll say life started in Africa. That doesn't mean life stayed in Africa. You can't convince me that Africans with all of these innovations back then, they just said, yep, we're just going to stay here and be cute and cuddly right in this little continent. Like, come on now. There's a reason why all of the indigenous inhabitants, when you start looking back, the Aboriginals are all dark-skinned people. And those people, they didn't consider themselves African. They considered themselves darker, melanated people, but not African. African label was very new. They had other terms, you know, because there's no race called Berber and there's no race called Moor. But there were multiple people that were phenotypically black that were Moorish, right? And then there were some people that were people would call Arabic looking that were Moorish, right? There were black Berbers as well. There were black people called Nubians, right? They were called a lot of things, Hebrews, Israelites, right? So all of these are very modern terms. The term Africa is alleged to have come from Rome. Is Rome in Africa? I'm just saying. So all of the people that don't want you to call yourself American, right? They want you to call yourself African, something that Africans themselves didn't even come up with. Okay. Let's get back into it though. But why is the obsession? Like, why do you care what we call ourselves? This dude is a mixed race Swedish dude. Just be proud that you're mixed race, bruh. And you got to leech and tether off of our culture, bruh. Stop trying to wag your little funky fingers at us, bruh.
Like dark skin, but they say they from Michigan. Fuck you mean you from Michigan? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, you were like dark skin, but they say they from Sweden. My mom's like actually from like her parents from Sweden, like more whatever. But I know it's mixed, obviously, clearly, right? Yeah. But a lot of people in America, they could be black, like, I'm talking like dark skin, but they say they from Michigan. Fuck you mean you from Michigan? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, you were born in Michigan, yeah, like you were raised there. But like, you know what they were like? They shouldn't say they from Michigan. Nah, like you're not from Michigan. Why you claim Michigan for? Like, you're born and raised in Michigan. Yeah, like, they should just say my people have been in Michigan for a while. Yeah, like something like that. Like, but like in Sweden, if you ask somebody, they're like, I'm from Palestine.
Huh? He's over here like, why are you claiming Michigan for? Think about how idiotic this is. Again, your family fought in wars here. Your family experienced Jim Crow here. They fought for civil rights and for immigrants to get here. They were lynched here, debt peonage here, redlined here. You ain't from Michigan, no, you from Africa. None of this stuff happened in Africa. None of those wars were in Africa. You didn't go to any African courts. You're not in any African constitution, but that's where you're from because some mixed race Swedish dude said so while talking like you. He's talking like you. He's not talking in an African accent. He's not even talking in a Swedish accent. He's talking and sounding like us while saying, you ain't really from here. This accent, this swag, this style was created here. It wasn't created in Africa. There's no African village that you can point to people talking like this. And if they are talking like this, they were talking like that because they were influenced by foundational Black Americans. There's nothing African about it. Otherwise, you can point to many places in Africa and show me where this is prevalent. And this is why people, and then when you call people out like this dude, this light-skinned lunatic, then it's framed as there's colorism. No, this dude is actually being colorist. He's trying to say every dark-skinned person comes from Africa. No, that's just not true. There's some really, really dark-skinned Asiatic people. And then based on his logic, yeah, they're dark-skinned. Yeah, they're Asian, but they ain't really Asian because they really came from Africa. Based on what? His hypotheses? Come on. They have no proof. It's just a trust me, bro thing. And then they're over here saying, oh, y'all shouldn't say that y'all from Michigan. Y'all shouldn't say y'all from America. What you really should say is, I was born in America. Meanwhile, you got immigrants coming over here saying they're more American than you. Think about the Jedi mind trick, right? In America, you're supposed to call yourself African. But when you go to Africa, they identify you as American. So I'm in my homeland. I'm in my motherland of America, but I can't identify with my motherland. I have to identify with a distant land I've never been. And then when I go to my so-called motherland, they say, well, this ain't your motherland. You're American. Now, they may welcome you, mainly because they want some of that American moolah. They'll welcome you, but they don't see you as African. Africans see you as American. But Americans are forcing you to be calling yourself African. Make it make sense, bro. It doesn't make sense. A lot of these people just need their behinds beat. We've been way too nice. They won't go anywhere else and talk like that. They will get stomped. Yeah, no, I concur. Many people, unfortunately, a lot of this is self-inflicted because we do have a very compassionate and loving nature. So we try to sympathize with people, but unfortunately, the trauma bonding politics are over. We've seen people when we have been the one upholding injustice anywhere is an injustice everywhere. So people always quote our leaders, but they have no civil rights leaders to quote. I ask the same questions and I always hear crickets. They try to pretend as if MLK was so bad. Okay, cool. Who is the white version of MLK? Who is the Asian version of MLK? They say that Asians are the model minority and they're so smart. Okay, fine. I should hear about a very intricate, genius plot that Asians cooked up to give civil rights to everyone. But that's not what you hear. Instead, you hear a bunch of Asians saying, oh, no, no, we're the model minorities. We don't want to fight for civil rights, but we will come benefit from it, right? Asians didn't want to be identified with any color, right? It wasn't us talking about the yellow peril. When have you ever seen a yellow Asian? You've literally never seen a yellow Asian. You've seen yellow black people, though. You've seen red bone black people. You've seen blue black people. And you've seen what most foundational black Americans are, copper colored. So again, who truly are the people of color? You're calling Asians people of color, and many of them have the same skin pigment as white people, right? But then again, who is the Latino version of MLK? Cesar Chavez. The same Cesar Chavez that they just drug through the mud and said that he was a sick perv in PDF file. I'm not saying that. That's what the Latino community said about him. So y'all saying MLK is bad, and then you prop up a Mexican perv as the equivalent to MLK? Fine. Who else do you have? Oh, you have no one else because the other Latinos were said, we don't want to ally with the Negro. Let the Negro fight his own battle. This is what the Latinos said during the height of civil rights movement. So yeah, we've been too nice. We've been all inclusive, inviting people to the cookout. We thought that it'd be an acceptance of everyone, that people would suddenly start to like us and want to ally with us. But all these other people, they use it as a cultural extraction. Let's get close to them, extract it, and then discard it and say that you guys have no culture. We have a culture of being loving. We have a culture of forgiveness. Now, what we do need to do is forgive each other more. We need to be a lot more loving to each other, you know what I mean? Because these other groups are using our loving nature against us and unfortunately throwing us under the bus and stabbing us in the back at the same time, you know, saying we don't have a culture while participating in our culture, right? You know, saying that you didn't create anything by enjoying the fruits of what we built, right? Hispanics, right? They're so organized. They don't want to go to HBCU. Well, why do you guys have historically black colleges? Because we fought in this country to build them. You don't have historically Hispanic colleges because there's no race called Hispanic. And many Hispanics consider themselves white. So you want to just go to a predominantly white institution, you know? If Hispanics are such a large growing group and, you know, they're so organized, you know, they can have their own Hispanic, and they do have something called HSI, Hispanic Serving Institutions. So these people could have their own institutions, but they want to go to these PWIs and they want to go to these HBCUs under the banner of a person of color, but they go and take advantage of these opportunities, but it's not to build anything with the community, right? You hear this goofy black and brown, black and brown. You call some people who identify as racially white, brown. Okay, fine. Where's the black and brown businesses, right? They talk about the black and Palestinian solidarity. Okay, show me the black and Palestinian businesses. Show me the black and Mexican businesses, the black and Puerto Rican businesses. You hear a bunch of people saying, well, I grew up around black people, and that's why I say nigga. They never say I grew up around black people, and that's why I wanted to start a business with a black person. So you grew up around a black person and all you wanted to do was call him nigga. You didn't want to build with him. You didn't want to grow with him. You didn't want him dating your sister, your mama, or anything else. You just wanted a pass to say nigga. And somehow you've been convinced that that's solidarity. No, they really love us because they made us tacos and horchata and they called me a nigga. Okay. If that's solidarity, I'm good. And salute to the UK fam. Salute to dropping the T. I may need me a spot of it. So salute to dropping the tea. Let's get back into it.
Right? I'm only like, I'm 50% Swedish because my mom's like half from, like her parents from Sweden, like more whatever. But I know it's mixed, obviously, clearly, right? Yeah. But a lot of people in America, they could be black, like, I'm talking like dark skin, but they'll say they're from Michigan. Fuck you mean you're from Michigan? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you were born in Michigan, like, you were raised there. But like, you know what they were like? They shouldn't say they from Michigan. Nah, like, you're not from Michigan. Why you claim Michigan for? Like, you're born and raised in Michigan. Yeah, like, they should just say my people have been in Michigan for a while. Yeah, like something like that. Like, but like in Sweden, if you ask somebody, they're like, I'm from Palestine, I'm from whatever. Like, I'm from. Like, we have a lot of like culture in there, bro. Like a lot of culture.
I never realized how many people are so uneducated and so ignorant when it comes to Black American history. Like, what do you expect the person to say? If the person says, okay, I'm from Michigan, what do you expect them to say, right? Black Americans, even if you want to go based off of the transatlantic slave story, fine. Who's going to go back in archives of 400 years in genealogy and try to pinpoint to countries that didn't even exist at the time?
Nobody. We're not going to do that. And that's not even the question. The question is, why would somebody like this, who's not even an American, be concerned about what we call ourselves, where we're from, and why would whoever this person was eating suggest, well, we ought to just say that's where we were born. That's where we're from. We are from America. Now, I could almost understand this if these were white people having this conversation. These are Black people who are not even Americans worrying about what we call ourselves. We don't know these people. We don't know where they're from, but they're completely meddling into something that's none of their concern. That's none of their business. And they really seem to be arrogantly discussing what we call ourselves and where we are from. This is something I thought we had put to bed, but apparently these people can't let it go. And it has more to do with them. I think that some of these people have a real problem with Black Americans having ownership of America. What they don't know is that our
And how could you claim that you have solidarity with us, right? We're literally the foundation of this nation. We've been here since before the nation was even a nation. Now you can try to pretend that we all came from Africa on a boat. That just simply didn't happen. But let's just say that it did. That happened centuries ago. Hundreds of years ago, not just hundreds, several hundreds of years ago, right? And they're telling you to trace back hundreds upon hundreds upon hundreds of years to a land that's new. The land that's the present day Africa, that's not the same Africa that it was 500 plus years ago. And they're trying to tell you, matter of fact, let me put it to you like this. Many of your people, shout out John saying, are you still in the building, right? We from Pittsburgh, California, but y'all can look over all California, right? Or any nation that you're in, right? The city that you grew up in, right? The high school that you went to, the high school is not the same. You go to the high school, you don't even recognize it. You like, man, the quad used to be over here. Hold on, they got a turf field. Bro, what? They didn't even have a swimming pool. They built a new heated swimming pool. You can't say that well, it's the same school that you went to. Like, is it really though? It's in the same location, but it's definitely not the same school, right? So they're trying to get you to claim a generic location, and you're like, well, that country didn't even exist the time that you're claiming I'm from there. Well, it's the same location that we want to arbitrarily link you to. So yes, you're from here. But then if you go to that same area and ask those people, hey, the DNA test, and there's a reason they say DNA tests are for entertainment purposes only when you're trying to find, some lost roots in Africa, right? Let's just say that you're 93% Nigerian, right? You can't go to Nigeria and say I'm 90% Nigerian. I'm a Igbo now. They're gonna be like, nigga, you're American. But salute to you. So again, in Africa, they identify you as American. But in America, you're supposed to be a generic African who's just from the lost motherland and you don't know where you're from. So if you don't know where I'm from, then how could you say that I'm actually from there, right? Oh, you're from West Africa. Okay, but how many countries are there in West Africa right now? Oh man, forget it. You're just from West Africa. But it wasn't even called Africa, right? If you want me to date back 500 years, 1,000 years, well, let's just go further back than that. Why are we stopping then? Why won't you just say that I'm from Alcubilon? Because it wasn't called Africa, right? So how far do we have to go? So we only have to go back as far as when they named it Africa, but you don't have to go further back before Africa was named Africa. Based on who? Right? There's no obsession to call Europeans European, right? If we're African and everyone knows we're African, why do we need to call ourselves African, right? If it's already implied, and I say I'm a foundational Black American freedman, and it's implied that I have African ancestry or African genetics, why should I have to add the word African in there if what's already understood need not be explained? It's the whole concept of white, right? You automatically assume white people have European ancestry. White and European is not the same word, but you assume that it is, and you don't force them to call themselves European. Same thing with Caucasian. You assume Caucasian means European, and there's no forcing and whining about them calling themselves European. But when I say that, hey, I'm foundational Black American, you're African. Oh, okay, cool. But I'm a foundational Black American. No, you must call yourself African. But I thought you said that you already knew that I'm African. So whether I call myself a foundational Black American, a Solon, it shouldn't matter if you said all life started in Africa, right? Shouldn't matter, right? And if all life started in Africa, why aren't you forcing Asians to call themselves Africa since all life started there? Matter of fact, all these Caribbeans, most of the enslaved people from the transatlantic slave went to the Caribbean. Many of them went to Brazil. Why aren't Brazilians calling themselves African Brazilian? I don't want to hear Afro Hispanic. I don't want to hear Afro Latino. I don't want to hear none of that. Why aren't they calling? I don't want to hear the word Afro. I want to hear the word African. Since y'all love the word so much, why aren't Brazilians calling themselves African Brazilian? America is a continent, but when we talk about the United States of America, we're talking about the country, right? So the United States of America is a country. Brazil is a country. Why isn't the country of Brazil calling their people African Brazilian, even though Brazil had way more formerly enslaved Africans than the U.S. ever had? But no one is there calling themselves African Brazilian. There's no African Jamaican. There's no African Haitian. There's no African Bahamian, right? There's no African Guyanese. Call yourself African American. Why? There's people that are immigrating here and they don't even call themselves African. They say, I'm not Black. I'm not African. I'm Nigerian. Africans on the continent of Africa aren't going around calling themselves African. People from Sudan aren't calling themselves African, even if they actually are African. They're identifying by their tribe and nation state. And then when we say, you know what, hey, nothing wrong with that. Actually, we want you to lean into that, right? You're Nigerian, right? No, we all Black. Now it turns into the same people that said, stop calling yourself a color. Now everybody wants to be called a color. They said you have no culture. Black is just a color. Me, I'm Nigerian. I'm Senegalese. I have a culture. All right, fine. Represent your culture. No, we all Black. It's like, no, we're not. We're Black and you're Nigerian and you're Senegalese. It's a beautiful thing. Why are you trying to erase your culture? Right? You're abdicating and discarding your culture to be under a banner of flat blackness. No other group does that, right? Jewish people aren't going around saying we all Jewish, right? No, Ashkenazi people make it very clear that they're different from Sephardic Jews. I mean, that doesn't mean that they're better in any type of way. It just means that they're different, right? But let's see what the chat is talking about. But I appreciate you dropping it, T. All right, let's get back into it, though.
Foreparents helped build this country from scratch. And so their situation is different from ours. The light-skinned guy says he's 50% Swedish. Well, his mother married or had a relationship with a man that was black, whether he was African or Caribbean or American. But that black person didn't build Sweden. That black person came there probably as a visitor or.
Hey, and I got to give a special shout out to Shabazz. Shabazz, you know what? Hold on, man. I got a secret supporter by the name of Shabazz. Hey, Shabazz, maybe you don't want your name doxed, but this person has hit me on the Cash App very heavy. You know what I mean? Before, and then sometimes, they sprinkle a little bit, and sometimes they sprinkle a whole heck of a lot of bit. I don't know who this person is. I mean, I'm trying to think, like, is there somebody named Shabazz in my life? I don't know. The only Shabazz I know is, the brother Malcolm, you know what I mean? But salute to this person, because you never know who's watching. So this anonymous person hit me on the Cash App, and just in case, I do this because I'm a man of the people. I'm demonetized right now, but I'm not doing this, for the shillings or to grift or anything. However, you feel me? I got bills like anybody else. So if you want to make a financial contribution, you could always hit me on the Cash App. But the thing is, I want to let people know I've had people, non-foundational Black Americans, like shout out to, some of my white people out there. I'm a humanitarian. I love all people of various orientations, racial backgrounds, and cultural ethnicities, right? But I've had some anonymous people hit me up. I've had some white people hit me up, and they've hit me up heavy, and I wasn't even expecting it. So I do want to take the time to appreciate people, you know what I mean? And even the people, like, if you're unable or unwilling to support the stream financially, you can always hit your boy with a like, sharing, commenting, telling a friend to tell a friend, engaging with the chat. These won't even cost you a fee, right? So if you don't want to even send your boy $1 or a 10 ball or 100, hey, I appreciate you giving me a like. You feel me? That's something that I appreciate. But since he hit me on the Cash App, hey, I gotta hit you with my Cash App.
Grave digger, the dome cracker, the wig splitter.
All about my cheddar, square ass nigga. Hating on the player, cause I'm all about my facts. Drugs go, 100 miles per hour, feel like a cobra. All about my cheddar, square ass nigga.
So I'm all about my cheddar. Y'all can hit the Cash App. Let's get back into it.
Tourist, or his mother was somewhere studying or visiting or something like that. So he doesn't have any ownership of Sweden. So no, they don't claim him. And the black guy, I don't know, he might have been an African or Caribbean or something like that, but he's not an American. So he doesn't have any business making any suggestion about how we ought to identify, how we ought to call ourselves, or who we are, because it's not any concern of his. It's none of their business, either one of them. But here they are, smack dab in the middle of our business, telling us how we ought to identify. We are not going to call ourselves Africans because we are not Africans. We haven't been to Africa, and we are not going to identify with some place that we don't know anything about. As Black,
So this is the OG speaking right here. Shout out. This is the OG, Lady Boulay from Alabama, right? So they trying to make it seem like, oh, it's just people trolling online. No, there's many of the OGs that are saying, you know what? I don't know anything about Africa. It's like, it's not a hatred towards Africa. But the thing is, trying to overly Africanize everything that you do is just essentially trying to make you a comparable to an immigrant. And this is why they keep pushing that rhetoric. This is a nation of immigrants built by immigrants. So if it was built by immigrants, right? Because they love to talk about the so-called native and indigenous population. So if you're saying it was built by immigrants, you're essentially saying the indigenous population didn't build poppy squat. You're also trying to frame the foundational Black American population as immigrants. But when they say it was built by immigrants, what they're essentially saying that this was just barren land and the nation desperately needed immigrants to come and save it, but it wasn't built by immigrants. It's just a flat out lie. Immigrants didn't come to build America. They came to contribute what was already built. Even in all the immigrant stories, they say, hey, I went there for the opportunity. They don't say, hey, we went there to build America. They went there for the opportunity. The only reason opportunities were available because the country was already built and thriving. They came over for expansion. Really, they came over to displace the Black people and to be a buffer group. That's truly why they came over, and because the white birth rate has been dwindling for some time now, and all of these other groups can be folded over into whiteness, and the ones that are not folded over into whiteness are very hostile with their anti-Blackness, so it serves the purpose as a buffer group, where even if there's a white minority, they still will have a majority white ruling class, so they don't mind ruling over other non-whites, you know what I mean? They just prefer them to be on the brighter, lighter, whiter side, you know what I mean? But no, we're not claiming Africa. Like, I literally never called myself African American. My mom never, we always just been Black, you know what I mean? That's just, you know, and many people, even people of the freedmen community, was trying to strip you from that. Why y'all call y'all still Black? But they have been participating in everything Black. Black power, Black culture, right? HBCUs, historically Black colleges, right? Black History Month and all these things, right? The term African being infused in all of these things are like relatively new. Even just look at the 90s. I brought this up the other day. They had a United Negro College Fund. It wasn't called United African College Fund. They would draw the distinction of African immigrants versus someone who was foundational to the soil. It doesn't mean that one or the other is better. It's just different, right? A Japanese person who was interned is not the same as a recently arrived Filipino immigrant. They don't have the same struggle, the same story, simply or by virtue of them both being an Asian population. There you go. Here we go. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Aces in Place podcast. And you already came in. You came in hot, Aces, because I present to you another moist maniac in the chat. Aces in Place. I mean, what kind of weirdo name is that? Aces in Place. Gotta hit you.
And you know what, nigga? You acting like a little bitch right now. You acting like a little bitch right now, nigga. Man, fuck that. I ain't letting that shit ride.
So again, he's in here calling people idiots, right? Like, but then you came in and gave an idiotic, incoherent response. So who are you idiots? Clearly state who you're talking about. You idiots. Like, who are the idiots you're referring to? Another low IQ comment from a moist maniac. It's a diaspora war. No, it's not. It's not. You know what happens in wars? People are getting limbs amputated with no anesthesia. Bombs are dropping. What is happening? What foundational Black Americans are dropping bombs on anyone? Yeah, some people are getting a rhetorical bomb dropped on them. They call me a tether sometimes. So somehow calling someone a tether is the same as FMG, where some chicks are getting their vaginas sliced and slit open. Guess who's doing that to them? Their fellow countrymen. There's no FBAs doing that. Boko Haram is over there slapping people up. Guess who's doing that to them, right? When you look at the people in the Sahel region, Niger, Burkina Faso, Mali, right? Where are the other people in ECOWAS to come to their defense, right? So you talking about a diaspora war. Nobody even used that term. Let's be honest. You guys didn't grow up using that term diaspora. This is another relatively new term in people's lexicon. Not saying the term never existed, but nobody was using this term. Now everything is a diaspora war. They call me an African booty scratcher. somehow that's a diaspora war. Like, no one called you an African booty scratcher. And if they did, nigga, you're 50 years old. Get over it. We're supposed to get over being called. So what if they call you the N-word? Well, so what if they called you a tether? So what if you got called an African booty scratcher? That's not a diaspora war. You know what a diaspora war is? China is on the continent of Africa smacking up a bunch of Africans, telling them what to do, mocking them, getting African kids and having them dance and hold signs that say disparaging thing about Africans. That's what a war is. Matter of fact, are you even in Africa? Because these cats always want to talk about it's a war. Okay, well, won't you go over there and fight? Won't you put some boots on the ground in Africa? Isn't Africa your motherland? Nigga, why are you here? Aces in place.
Do me a favor, please. Get out of here. Get out of here, man. Shit, I'm saying.
You're not intellectually formidable enough to challenge me. This incoherent, incompetent comment just proves it. But, you know. Nah, this is the thing. If he leaves another incoherent comment, and just to be clear, like, because some cats seem, I'm going to do what I usually do. Because cats, y'all seem to got a lot of smoke, bruh. So here you go. This is what I'm going to do. Bada boom, bada bam. The link is there. And if I don't know you, you may have to cam up and back. You don't have to be on cam on the stream. But yeah, all these cats, you got all this smoke, right? I'm an idiot. Well, come and prove me to be an idiot, bro. Because all y'all cats, y'all always got the smoke. I dropped the link and then suddenly y'all dip. Y'all try to leave a troll comment and then run out. Acting like a moist little whiny ass hoe who had her first period, nigga. You idiots doing diaspora wars. Nigga, it ain't no fucking war. There's a war going on right now that you ain't saying nothing about. You don't even want to go to Africa. None of these niggas are in Africa. Oh, yourself African. Why, nigga? You're not African. You're not in Africa. You want me to go fight for Africa, but you won't even do it. Do I gotta pull up the wars that are going on right now? Sudan is not even just Sudan no more. They had a war and now it's South Sudan. So it's the same country, but then they fought and split it in half. No. And you can't call the South Sudanese people. If you call a South Sudanese person, hey, you're Sudanese. No. I'm not Sudanese. I'm South Sudanese. Same thing with the North Africans. Hey, you're African. Hell no, I ain't African. I'm North African. Imagine this. Big Rig in the chat. Hey, you from San Jose? No, I ain't from San Jose. I'm from South San Jose. I mean, nigga, I said you're from San Jose, but I ain't from San Jose. I'm from South San Jose. That's what they're doing in Africa. Literally, a country, an entire country split in half because they're so divided. Sudan isn't Sudan anymore. Now it's a Sudan and South Sudan, and these are two distinct countries, right? But then they're talking to you about uniting. They're talking to you about diaspora wars. Do you know about the wars going on in Darfur in Sudan? Did you know there's a famine? Millions and millions of people are expected to be undernourished. So they're saying that the famine could lead to 1 million deaths. I mean, that sounds like a war to me. That sounds like a G-side to me. And still they're talking about FBAs because someone called them a tether on TikTok. It was some faceless troll account that called you a tether. Nigga, you're a troll. You're trolling and you got trolled by a better troll and now you're whining and calling it a diaspora war. Come on, bro. Get your moist ass out of here, nigga.
Americans, we are the most studied, copied, debated, imitated, criticized, and culturally harvested group on the planet. And the wild part is that most of us have never left the United States. This is our home. So why does the world have this fixation on us? The world knows us before we know them. Black Americans are globally recognizable. People in
highly moisturized, bro, like a wet t-shirt contest, bro. I mean, hashtag Little Debbie, bro. These niggas be cakes, bro. Hashtag hostess. I was on the phone, so I'm 6 minutes in the past. Okay, well, I'm glad you came back. I'm a Southside.
Hey, but you ain't really from San Jose though, Big Rig. You ain't from San Jose, cuz. Stay where you really from, bro. Stay where you're from, bruh. Facts on facts. They keep copying, bro. And this is the thing. They keep copying. And then when you call them out for copying, like, bro, why are y'all copying? It's like, well, we didn't copy you. Y'all got this from the motherland. It's like, huh? So Big Rig is into low riding, you feel me? 3-wheel motion, hitting them low riding switches, right? So when Big Rig rides to town and he clean on three, you feel me? He on 3-wheel motion. Somehow he got that from Africa. John has been rapping since he's in diapers. John learned how to rap from Africa. I've been riding around with beat, you feel me? 415s, Zapco, Dynamat. Somehow I learned how to put beat in my car from Africa. John, sometimes he got Timberland boots, sometimes he got Jordan, sometimes he got foam. He got that style from Africa. According to who, though? Hey, I'm trying. Hey, I'm trying to keep it calm. Matter of fact, John, this is because since the trolls is in here, you just reminded me, John. I guess I got to leave a public service announcement. I am a very respectful person. I am a very peaceful person. However, I was brought up not to take no sugar honey iced tea, especially from some faceless person who won't even show, their face. So just to be clear.
Hold on here, bro. Excuse me, okay? First of all, who are you? Respect that, that's all I ask, bro. That's all I ask. Excuse me, everybody, please listen up. I do need your attention. I'ma say this once, because I ain't gonna say it again. All right? We almost had an altercation up in here. I don't want it to happen again. All right? So remember these 3 words. Respect my house. All right? Okay, see? See, now you found yourself a nigga. You was looking for a nigga? Nigga here now, see?
Okay. Today's forecast, dark and cloudy, and chance of drive-by.
This shit just got rigged. Well, what you gonna do, bitch?
I'm gonna tell you what. I'm gonna do.
You ever heard of rolling 20s, nigga? Since I was 16, nigga. Okay. See, what he thought was he could come up in here and make the rules, but now he see that I run this bitch, and now he about to bounce.
So just in case y'all forgot who running this over here. They don't want peace, they want problems, and that's the thing. See, I'm a peaceful guy. However, I'm a problem solver. However, I am a problem finisher. I will solve the problem, but I could escalate a problem. I could become problematic, right? If I start to pop it, it could be a problem. And what Lil Scrappy say? You don't want no problem. And you really don't want no problem, right? You don't want a problem intellectually, physically, financially. You want to go to war, but you don't really make enough. And that's fine, right? You feel me? I'm not where I want to be financially, but I'm far surpassing you, right? I'm not where I want to be intellectually, but you're not intellectually formidable to challenge me. If you are, then hit the link. It's out there. It's out there. It always has been out there. And shout out to John. But John, just to be clear, right? John, like I said, John was rapping since he was knee-high to a tadpole. Bro was in diapers. Bro had the saggy huggy, and bro was spitting bars. You feel me? He would spit bars to his mama to get her to change his diaper, right? Did he get that rapping ability from Africa? I'm just saying, did he? Rolling 20s. I just had to let him know who run this. Let's get back into it, though.
In countries we've never visited, no, the most studied, copied, debated, imitated, criticized, and culturally harvested group on the planet. And the wild part is that most of us have never left the United States. This is our home. So why does the world have this fixation on us? The world knows us before we know them. Black Americans are globally recognizable. People in countries we've never visited know our music, our slang, our fashion, our political movements, our celebrities, and our social debates. They know our culture better than they know their own neighbors sometimes. This is not normal. This is global cultural saturation. Black American culture travels faster than passports. And when people consume a culture that powerful, they start feeling entitled to define it. We built identity without a nation state. Most groups have identity handed to them.
Damn, that boy John. Oh, my bad. That's what the true mistake was. Was it Huggies or Loves? I could have made a mistake. You feel me? Was it Loves? What was that? My bad. A Freudian, a slip. And John, you said the saggy Huggies. I mean, was everybody didn't have a little saggy Huggy? Hey, you feel me? A little saggy Saturday. You feel me? It happens, bro. It happens to the best of them. John sag different. So Black Alpha put up a YouTube post about Asian deportations. I thought to myself, there's a price, 2 billion paid, teaming up with Ed Bloom. Yeah, the pull-ups. Yeah, pull-ups used to have some like solid commercials. What happened to the good commercials? Because back then, I mean, I guess since I cut the cord and I don't have cable, so I don't see the commercials. But back then, the commercials really used to make you want to buy stuff, right? Even like, let's say, a Apple Jacks, but they don't taste like apple. But the commercials and Apple Jacks was fire. But I'm saying like the commercials made you want to buy it. I know Big Rig always talk about the SpaghettiOs, like they had some fire commercials. The Chef Boyardee's, the Tony the Tiger. So we're gonna have to do a stream just on the commercials. We got a throwback stream that we're gonna do eventually. But man, what happened, bruh? Like, how could these commercials in the 80s and 90s be so good, but now the commercials just be trash? Fair question to ask. You said, yeah, the commercials was fire. Shout out to John, still rocking out.
A flag, a tribe, a language, a homeland, a government. Black Americans didn't get any of that. We built identity out of survival, shared trauma, shared victories, collective memory, and cultural innovation. We are one of the few ethnic groups on earth whose identity is self created, not state created. That bothers people because they can't understand an identity.
So that's powerful what the sister just said. She said our identity is self-created, not state-created. When people say, I'm not black, I'm not African, I'm Nigerian. Well, there wasn't a black African that came up with the term Nigeria. If you look at many of the African nations, it was a non-black, a non-African person saying, you know what, we're going to call your country this. And rather than say, hell no, we want to, we don't want to be named after our colonial masters. We're going to change it to something else. They're saying, oh, okay, well, the colonial masters called us Nigerian. So guess what? We're Nigerian. And they came up with many of those tribal names. They were calling them, hey, you're Blackfoot. They seen somebody, he stepped in mud. He got a Blackfoot. They'll be Blackfoot. They see somebody, they'll be this tribe, right? They named many of these tribes, and rather than resisting the names, they adopted those names. And then they try to come to you and say, how y'all adopted an American identity? They don't like y'all. Our American lineage isn't about whether white people or immigrants like us, right? I'm a foundational Black American freedman because that's what my lineage is, right? If I was Chinese, I would be proud to be Chinese. If I was Nigerian, I would be proud to be that. But I'm not going to try to say because we're all people of color, somehow I'm the same as someone from Bangladesh or Burkina Faso. No, we're not the same. I can acknowledge similarities, and we don't need to be the same to come together. If we're all human beings and people love to go from a religious aspect and say, well, we were all created in the image of God. Well, if that's the case, it shouldn't matter, right? I don't need to pretend like I'm of the same nation or tribal orientation as you for us to get along, right? You mean to tell me we can only fight for universal health care if I call myself African American, right? We can only fight for universal policies if I drop the word black and become a generic African, and that will show solidarity. To who? Fine. We'll do that, right? We'll just call ourselves generic Africans, but then everyone else has to be generic, right? Stop with all the Chinese, Japanese, and stuff. They're all just one big Asian, right? I'm not gonna try to do an ethnic distinction, right? I'll say, you know what? People from Korea, they're the ones who created lumpia. And guess what? Pakistanis, they created samurai culture. And Thailand people, they created anime. Why not? They're all Asian. Isn't that what they're doing to us? Right? So I should just collapse everyone else's culture. You can't try to tell me that it's okay to collapse all blacks into one big global Negro, but somehow we have to ethnically be distinct with every other group. Yeah, no, the days of flat blackness are over.
That wasn't assigned by a border or a tribe. So they try to force us into theirs. So they try to force us into theirs. And that's what this guy's trying to do. He's trying to.
And this is the thing, Big Rig. You're not supposed to ask who named this. You're just supposed to go along with it. Shut up, Big Rig. They called you African. You African. You ain't Cherokee. You acting like a pretendian, right? So they're saying your family actually does have Cherokee lineage, but you can't claim any native or indigenous ancestry. None of your family members have African ancestry, but they're forcing you to claim Africa. And if you don't claim Africa, it's just because you're too dumb to know where you came from. See, you have cousins here that you know, right? You can point to the things that just your family built here. You can point to the property that they owned here. You can point to the wars that they fought here, right? You can point to the lynchings. You can point to all of these things, and they're all here. But somehow you have to give credit to Africa. Your ancestors got lynched here, but then if they want to give some recompense, well, we got to send it to Africa. It's like, that didn't happen in Africa. Different things were happening in Africa. It's a different story. We should be able to tell all the stories, not try to collapse them all into one.
Put us in the same category as he is. The Swedish people, they are one of the few ethnic groups on earth whose identity is self created, not state created. That bothers people because they can't understand an identity that wasn't assigned by a border or a tribe. So they try to force us into theirs. So they try to force us into theirs. And that's what this guy's trying to do. He's trying to put us in the same category as he is. The Swedish people don't really identify him as one of them because he doesn't have anything in common with them. His mama just had a relationship or a marriage with somebody black. But that.
So as much as he's telling the black people, oh man, look how dark your skin is. You ain't from Michigan. Look at this dude on the screen. He said he's 50% Swedish, but more than 50% of Sweden. They saying like, bro, you ain't like us. So, he needs to be having this conversation with his own people. They don't care that he's mixed. He's trying to say that he's mixed and say, no, I'm not fully black. I'm mixed. I'm part Swedish. I'm part white. I'm kind of like you, partly. And they're saying, no, you're not. As soon as you have that one drop of Negro, you're nothing like us. That's what they're saying to him. So since he gets no traction talking to them, he's trying to tell us what we need to do and who we need to claim and where we need to claim. Look how dark you are. You're really African. Okay. Well, I mean, look how light he is, right? I can say that you really Creole, right?
It does not make him a part of their culture. And so he, like a lot of people around the world, have complicated relationships with their own countries. Some feel trapped, some feel ashamed, some feel disconnected, as he probably does, some feel invisible, as he probably does.
Okay, so y'all get the drift. And let me show y'all this, right? Let me show y'all what delineation looks like, right? Because now, bada boom, bada bam. Let me pull this down and let me try to make this a bit bigger for y'all. Give me uno momento. All right, could y'all see that? Story time would be easy. Now here's delineation, right? Ethiopian migrant. They're not calling him black. they're not calling him African American, even though by this racial construct and by the nebulous term, he could identify as black and he could also identify as African American. And we're supposed to pretend as if someone who recently immigrated here has the same lineage as people who have been here for hundreds, if not thousands of years. So let's get into it. Ethiopian migrant. Now, the only reason why they're doing this is because there is, you know, I guess you can say an underlining xenophobia, an underlying anti-blackness, right, going on. But hey, this is delineation, right? You know, be proud of where you're from. Now, an Ethiopian migrant accused of offing 3 people over a parking roll has told the detectives he hated the American system. And this is why we want to delineate, because look, 'tis the season to hold your own nuts, hold your own lineage, and hold your own filth. Foundational Black American freedmen have a lot of issues, but we need to own up to our own issues. We're not trying to own up and take responsibility for what someone else does. So we're not going to look at some vile, heinous thing that another melanated group does and say, we all black, we all the same. Like, no, we're not. We need to take ownership for some of the debaucherous, degenerate things that we do, and other groups need to do the same. We don't need to try to collapse it and say that we're all the same, because no, we're not. So here we have an Ethiopian migrant. He went on a deranged thing, and the people that he shot, many of them are actually immigrants too, because immigrants live next to immigrant enclaves. Look at this name, Tasigab Benesul. Not making fun of the name, I'm just saying that's not like a foundational Black American name. His name is Tesigab Bunesul, and he was arrested in Virginia after he fatally shot Nancy Fuentes Zambrano. Does that sound foundational Black America? Dina Silcox, and Walwardine in St. Paul. So sounds like an Ethiopian person, and these other people sound like they were either Ethiopian or Somali people. And there's nothing wrong with that. But what I'm saying is many of these immigrants, they live in immigrant enclaves. So just like the conversation of what about black on black crime, right? If these immigrants, if they're going to commit a crime or do some harm, is most likely going to happen to another immigrant because they have these immigrant enclaves. But this is what delineation looks like, right? It's not saying that, hey, Ethiopians are horrible people. It's saying that this person was an Ethiopian migrant who did this. Now, this shouldn't for all Ethiopians shouldn't have to answer for what one deranged person does. However, the entire Black population, especially foundational Black Americans, we shouldn't have to answer for what this dude did. Now, look at this dude right here. Now, you can look at him and just tell that he's not of the lineage, right? I'm not saying that he looks bad. I'm not saying that he looks good. I'm just saying that he looks different. And we can tell that. And just by the fact that we can tell, somehow that's xenophobia. I can tell that he's of East African descent. I can tell that he's an immigrant, right? Or at least someone in his family has an immigrant background with this phenotype. And then when you're proven right, it's like, that's xenophobic. It's like a xenophobic to say that, oh, this dude is probably East African. And then it turns out that he is East African. Somehow it's xenophobic to point out the truth. Now, this is the dude, right? Now, in recent days, they would just call him black. They would just call him African American because he's Ethiopian, which is African, and he's American, or at least people thought he was an American. I don't know if he has actually legal citizenship, but anyways, now he's saying he believes he was treated unfairly because he's black and an immigrant. Why didn't he say that he was African? So even Africans from Africa are not trying to call themselves African. They want to use a term like black when they know who that term has historically been associated with. Because we can talk about, yeah, there have been black people all over the world. Yeah, all over the world, those people weren't calling themselves black. Other people were calling them black. Themselves, they weren't calling themselves black, which is why you go on Africa, 3,000 tribes. Guess what? None of those tribes are called black. So when and where are they calling themselves black? They're not even calling themselves African, let alone black. But when they want to get jammed up, I was treated bad because I'm black. That's what he's saying. No, you were treated bad because you were a deranged whack job who offed 3 people over a parking spot, allegedly. Right? Don't try to pull up the black card, bruh. That's our card to pull. You feel me? Now, it was the Dubs who created the entire deck of the race card, but that's a foundational Black American card to pull. Why won't you pull the African card? Don't try to say, well, blacks, Africans are black. No, they're not, because there's a bunch of Indians. There's a bunch of also, there's a bunch of Chinese people. There's a bunch of mixed race people that are claiming to be African, right? So African is not just synonymous with blackness. That's what people are been trying to, burn into your brain, but that's just not true. So he's saying he's being mistreated because he's black and an immigrant. Now, the suspected triple unaliver is believed to have lived in an apartment complex for 8 years. However, it is unknown when he entered the U.S. And again, we're supposed to champion this, right? No one knows when he got to the U.S. because he came here illegally. He snuck in the country. And then because, well, he had a job and he was working because he worked for 8 years, we're supposed to champion open borders. This is a nation of immigrants built by immigrants, right? Every time you try to say, man, I'm against open borders, then they say, who's going to pick the fruit? There's no immigrants picking my fruit. There's no immigrants cleaning my house. Then they start framing it. They're doing the jobs that no one wants to do, and Americans are too lazy. Many of them are working at fast food. People in the chat, you can find someone in your family to work a fast food job right now. No, you mean to tell me no one will work in fast food? Like, who are we kidding here? Many people used to try to get construction jobs. They wouldn't get hired, so people just stop applying. Not because they won't do the job, it's just because they know, and if they see that, you feel me, there's a white contractor and there's all Latino dudes, right? They know that they're not going to get the job, and if they do get the job, they'll be the only brother on the team with a bunch of people speaking Spanish, ha and kikiing, and the only thing that they have to say about you feeling uncomfortable is, hey, well, you need to learn Spanish. But then if I hire a bunch of Spanish people and say, hey, look, that's cool that you speak Spanish, but y'all need to learn English. That's xenophobic. So telling them to learn English is xenophobic, but them saying that you need to learn Spanish is just like, well, this is a nation of immigrants. It's like, make it make sense. So they're okay with discriminating. You can't discriminate against them. If I say, hey, look, man, most of my clientele is American. I need someone that can clearly and coherently speak English. That's considered discrimination. But if they say, hey, you have to be bilingual to work here. Yeah, we don't care that you speak English. We need someone that speaks English and Spanish. Then you're going to be discriminated against. And then even if you are a person that speaks English and Spanish, you still will be discriminated against because you don't have the complexion for the protection of the collection. Tell me where I lied. So again, this is all delineation. It's just like, man, 'tis the season to hold your own nuts. And apparently these are the people that he unalived. He went on a deranged tirade, this Ethiopian migrant. So again, they're not calling them black and they're not calling them African American. So if you know that he's Ethiopian, then how about you call him Ethiopian all the time? Because they'll have an Ethiopian enclave, and then when they do some crime, there's black crime. No, it's not. It's Ethiopian crime. And you see the delineation too when they're talking about in Minnesota, the Somalis, the Somali community. And it's not everyone in the Somali community, but some in the Somali community. They were involved in billions and billions of dollars that have been scammed. They're not calling the Somalis black and they're not calling them African. They're identifying them nationally and ethnically as Somali. That's all delineation is. And we're saying don't only do it when you're talking about the scams, do it all the time. If a Somali person graduates, a Somali graduated. If a Somali person does a crime, a Somali person committed a crime. Don't try to say it was a black person committed a crime and then they graduate and say, oh, look at this Somali. They graduated because they have a superior culture. No, we need to delineate all the time. Look at the Haitians. Haitians are considered black and they're considered African American. But when they're deporting Haitians, they're not saying that, hey, we deported these blacks. They're not saying that we deported these African Americans. They're saying Haitians are being deported. So if you're delineating when they deporting, why don't you delineate all the other time? A Haitian in America commits a crime. That's just black crime. A Haitian gets deported. Oh my God, it was a Haitian that got deported, but I thought they were black. Why didn't you say it was a black person? So people understand delineation and they delineate when they think that it suits their narrative and is advantageous for their agenda. And all we're saying is just, nah, don't delineate when you're deported. Delineate all the time, right? Delineate for your cultural accomplishments, innovations, and achievements, right? If you think about jerk chicken, don't say jerk chicken is black culture. It's not. It's Jamaican culture. I, as a foundational black American freedman, would never try to take chicken for take credit for jerk chicken and frame it as just some flat blackness cultural achievement. No, that specifically should be honored and upheld by Jamaican culture, right? And that's all we saying. Africa doesn't claim me. Why should I claim Africa? Simply because of same pigmentation. Yet they don't use their base identity on race, but country and tribe. Exactly. So again, they on the continent of Africa, they're looking at each other and saying that they're different. And then many of them come over here and then say, we all the same. No, we're not. You were next to people that were closer looking to you in phenotype, and you were saying those people weren't your people and that you're not the same. Now you want to come over here and pretend we're the same? And are you saying that because you truly love us, you truly see us as brothers and sisters? Or are you saying that just because you want cultural proximity to extract, right? Because even these actual Africans, they used to say, I'm not African American, I'm Nigerian. But if there's an award or a grant under the name of Juneteenth or African American, suddenly they start claiming that they're African American. Matter of fact, they start to say that they're more African American than you, i.e. Myron Lames, right? Who is a Sudanese Arab. He says, well, I'm Sudanese, so I'm African, so I'm more African than you based on his African lineage, which is true. And then he says, I'm just as American you based on the 14th Amendment and birthright citizenship. So some people, they try to pop their collar, and this is why they love the term African American, because they can try to do a cultural usurpation by saying that, hey, I'm more African than you, and I'm just as American as you, and we're all the same. So when there's history about African American history, then somehow Myron Gaines could try to take credit for it. Understand, it might be different conversation if they embraced us, selling us to slavery, although I do acknowledge there of those that were already here. Yes, exactly. I always acknowledge that there were some here. I don't really try to say 50% was here, 80% was here. I just say some was here. You know what I mean? Do with it what you want. I can say some, many, or a significant amount. You can't really statistically quantify how many people were here. So yes, some people were here and some people were transported from Africa, but based on the ethnogenesis, based on the cultural environment, the conditions they were forged in and under, they became a new, entirely distinct ethnic group. We so screwed as black or African people. I mean, elaborate. And then how does this comment help us be unscrewed? And what are you doing to contribute to the unscrewing? Because I mean, a lot of people, they make these vague statements, but it's like, if you know that we're screwed, right? You've identified a problem. What have you done to rectify this problem? Don't worry, I'll be waiting for the comment. And then on top of that, people will say, well, we're so screwed. Okay, so if we're so screwed, how is someone making a podcast, right? If we've already been screwed, how is someone making a podcast, really worse than anything happened? We're so screwed. I mean, in slavery, we were screwed. I mean, the people the formerly enslaved, the people that survived Jim Crow and debt peonage and all that stuff, I mean, they would love if all they had to deal with was someone saying some things that they disagree with on a podcast. They had to deal with a lot more than that. They had to deal with lynchings and people Bible thumping after that. I'm a Black American. I married a girl from Africa. Hey, it's a beautiful thing. Salute to you. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. You know that there's an ethnic and cultural distinction. If you look at that African girl, she's not going to say that she's the same as any melanated person from America. And we don't need to be the same to come together. We don't need to be the same to marriage, right? You're going to create a beautiful union of a Black American married into an African, right? And even the term Black American, even now, this is why there's the term of Solon, American descendant of slaves. Freedman was always our legal term, foundational Black American, because no one even knows what a Black American is. Myron Gaines, who is a Sudanese Arab, he tried to say he's African American and he's Black American, right? So it's like, are you really though? There's some people that are Caribbean, they're Caribbean immigrants. They come over here and they're saying, hey, well, yeah, I'm a Caribbean person. I know a dark-skinned Colombian person, right? Has a thick accent. He says he's Black. He's an American citizen because he was born here. And he says, I'm a Black American. And we have to pretend that it's just all the same because no, you can't be divisive. It's like, nah, like, bruh, these people always divide when it's time. And it's not necessarily divisive. I call it cultural accuracy, right? We have to just stop pretending we're all the same. We Black Americans are one people. Yeah, but who are the Black Americans that you're talking about? See, because you said Black Americans, but then people are trying to say, well, I'm not Black American, I'm African American. I'm not African American, I'm Nigerian. Right? So when you're saying Black Americans, this is why I'm saying, like, with this term, no one knows who you're talking about. When you say we Black Americans, hey, Alexander, when you say we.
Who is we? Who is we?
Because we've been trying to be convinced that we're all the same, but we're not. You already know it. You're married to an African person on the continent of Africa, 3,000 tribes. If they're all the same, why are there 3,000 different tribes? Why are there 2,000 different dialects? So yes, in terms of foundational Black American freedom, and yes, we are one people, but these other groups have come over and distinctively said that we're not the same people. The only time when people try to say we're the same people is when someone wants something for us. Hey, you guys need to crash out for Haitian deportations. But if we're all Black, we are Black, why aren't they calling the Haitians Black? Oh, because you're supposed to already know that they're Black, so no need to call them Black. Okay, that's fine. So if we're not calling them Black when they're being deported, we don't need to call them Black when they're living peacefully amongst society. They're Haitian when they get deported. They're Haitian when they immigrate here. So we can call them Haitian American. We don't need to call them Black American, right? Why do we need to ethnically strip their identity? Why do we need to ethnically strip a Nigerian identity rather than try to collapse it and make it pretend like we're the same? Yorubas don't even think they're the same as Igbo. But Yorubas and Igbo come over here and say, we all the same. Like, no, we're not. You don't even believe that. If you did, you would drop the tribal names. Just drop Igbo, drop Hausa, drop all of that if we're all one people. But people don't believe that. So this is like a kind of a pie in the sky aspiration that you have. And I'm not saying that it's a bad aspiration to have, but it's just not realistic. There's no Pan-Africanism in Africa. So why are people looking to Americans to uphold the virtues of Pan-Africanism that's not even happening in Africa? East Africa isn't united with North Africa. North Africa isn't united with West Africa, Central Africa, etc. They have too many, I'm Muslim, I'm Middle Eastern, I'm Arab, I'm this, I'm that. I'm not Black. 3,000 plus tribes and none of them are called Black. And actually 3,000 plus tribes and none of them are called African. So none of their tribes are called black. None of them are called African. But there's a forced, concerted effort to make you call yourself African and conflate being African with being black. Doesn't make any sense. In Africa, it operates off a tribal system. Exactly. It operates off a tribal system. You can't tell me in Africa they're operating off a tribal system. They immigrate here and then suddenly, eureka, we stop with the tribal mindset. They show that they have a tribal mindset. If we're all one people, then why does anyone need a little Haiti? Why do you need a little Africa town? I'm not Africa. I've never been to Africa. Probably never will go. Not because I hate Africa. I just may not never go. Maybe I will, maybe I won't. So I don't know anything about Africa, but I'm supposed to be okay with a little Africa. I'm supposed to be okay with a little Senegal, but I'm not Senegalese. And if we're all the same, why are you trying to draw an ethnic distinction? I'm not Haitian, but you want me to, be proud that you have a little Haiti that is exclusive culturally for Haitians. And then when I say, you know what, I want to have a culturally exclusive foundational Black American freedman town, suddenly I have to have everyone come in. No, we're all African, so everyone should be able to come and culturally extract. Chinatown, they're not trying to invite Koreans and Japanese people into their area and make it one big Asia town. And people understand, people champion, oh, yay, a Chinatown, yay, a Japantown. And then when we say, you know what, we want to have a freedman town, not an African American town, not an Africa town, a freedman town, a foundationally black city. There's reverse racism. And we have to allow everybody to come and Africanize it. So they're okay with Africanizing where we're from, but they're not okay with Americanizing it. Africans call you American, but you can't Americanize your institutions. They want you to Africanize it, even though you don't know anything about it. And shout out to Psychopatheist. I haven't seen you over here before, but salute to Psychopatheist. You said, when you say you're Black American means, I don't know where but you said, but we Africans of slavery don't have an identity. We are the only ones on earth that don't have an identity or land. I do have an identity. See, this is you projecting, saying we don't got an identity. So that's why I got to hit you one more time. We don't got an identity.
Who is we? Who is we?
I do have an identity. My identity is forged here. Foundational Black American, descendant of slave, freedman, Solon. Those are ethnic identities. You're trying to strip it and pretend if it's not an identity. So for a group that doesn't have an identity, why are so many other people trying to assume our identity? We don't have an identity, but people are trying to assume our slang, assume our fashion, assume our vernacular, assume our style, but y'all don't have an identity. So this leads to forms of cultural erasure, and this is a form of, you feel me, soft peddling coonery. I'll say it's inadvertent, right? I'll say it's inadvertent, but you just sound like just any of them. So again, you're trying to pretend that, hey, they do have a culture, but what is African culture, right? Just saying African culture doesn't even mean anything, because not all African culture is just a mishmash, gumbo pot, or whatever you think about culture. Tell a Nigerian that his culture is no different than a Ghanaian. Tell a Ghanaian that their culture is no different than Burkina Faso. But you try to pretend, well, they got a culture, they got an identity, but what's their culture? What's their identity? You don't know what their culture is, but you do know what our culture is. And then you know what our culture is, but then you say, oh, we don't have one and we don't have an identity. And it's funny, whenever it's something disgusting and negative, then suddenly that's Black culture. I mean, it's a bunch of chicks twerking in Africa, but that's not African culture. You see Sexy Red twerking. See, that's Black culture. Cardi B, who's not Black, Cardi B twerks. That's Black culture. It's not Hispanic culture. Cardi B is Latina. So her being a slut on track, shouldn't that be Latina culture? So this is like kind of, some of that kind of brain dead, buck broken babble when you saying, oh, well, they don't have an identity or land. Well, we do have a land. Our land is here. You said they try to unite, but when they do, the leaders get killed. When you say you are a Black American, you say your ancestors were here from the beginning with indigenous people. Obama is not a Black American. His bloodline doesn't bleed the whips of a slave, which is why when they asked Obama, was he Black, he said he prefers to be called an African American because he's a biracial Kenyan American. So by him getting to tether on to the term African American, hey, well, I'm Kenyan. I'm as African as it gets, you know what I mean? Which is why when you drop the term, is like, nah, well, we're foundational Black Americans or Black American. And simply Black American would have sufficed. People had to, you know, remix things. I know Dr. Claude Anderson talked about native Black Americans. Some people say ethnic Black Americans, generational Black Americans, right? All people are trying to do is just like to say that we're distinct from this other group. We're not saying that we're better. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that it's different, right? If I present you an orange and a grapefruit, both of them are orange, both of them are citrus fruits. They're similar, but they're not the same. I'm not saying one or the other is better. I'm saying that there's similarities and there's also significant distinctions, right? There may be similarities of you and someone from Nigeria, but that doesn't mean that you're the same. They know that you're not the same. They're in their same country with people that look like them, and they're looking at those people and saying, we're not the same. And we're supposed to believe that they come over here and believe that we're all brothers and sisters. It's like, okay. If we don't have an identity, then why is everyone else trying to be an American cosplay as the descendants of the America's killing fields? That's what I'm trying to say, bruh. You said, so what tribe you come from, African or Indian? Bro, are we really doing this, Alexander, bro? Are we really doing this, bruh? I gotta hit you. Hey, Alexander.
What? How please?
Nigga, please.
How? Nigga, what? Nigga. Nigga, please.
Nigga, please.
What?
Bruh, what are you talking about? So first you say, man, Africa, they tribal. And then you're asking us, what is our tribe? So what, you want us to be tribal like the Africans? The Africans that are beating each other over the head and they can't come together because of their tribal differences? That's not something to flex. And then think about how idiotic this sounds. We all African, but we can't come together because there's 3,000 different tribes. So what is the point of claiming African? 3,000 tribes. None of them are called African and none of them are called Black. So what are you popping your collar to? Doesn't really matter. Being a foundational Black American freedman is an amalgamation. It's an amalgamation of formerly enslaved Africans, of freedmen, of indigenous people, and of European people. That's a combination. Once you mix it all together, you have a freedman. It's not one or the other. We don't say, hey, we a little bit of this, a little bit of that. We say that we're foundational Black American freedmen. You want to know what tribe we are? Our tribe is Black, because all of these other groups, they weren't saying they were Black. I know Black, Papi. It wasn't just the Dominicans. I'm not Black, I'm Nigerian. I'm not Black, I'm Haitian, right? All of these other groups, they still say it today. Why y'all call yourselves Black? Black is just a color. Well, guess what? That color is our tribe. And if it's just a color, why are you calling yourselves Black? The same people that whine about Black being a color, they'll pivot in the next sentence and say, well, I'm Black. I thought identifying as a color is bad. But you start whining, cue the tiny violin, only to identify as a color. You wag your finger at me for identifying as a so-called color, but you also identify as a color. Then people, they never go to white people and say, white is just a color. Guess what? Black is a color, white is a color. Show me the videos of people whining to white people saying that white is just a color. Why y'all call yourselves white? Whites are European. Is white and European the same name? Is Caucasian and European the same name? Where are the people forcing Caucasian people? Y'all must call yourself European, right? If life came from Africa and you know that foundational Black Americans are allegedly African, then what's understood need not be explained, right? If a lion is walking around the jungle, does he need to call himself lion? the big cat. If you already know it's a big cat, why does a lion need to say, hey, don't forget, I'm a big cat? You know, it's like the lion is walking around in his existence and it happens to be a big cat. Why would it need to announce that? If we're allegedly African, why will we need to announce that? Isn't it being announced and pronounced by our phenotype? I'm just saying. So yeah, the tribe I come from is black. You said I don't know, and this is the thing, like bro actually might be FBA, and this is what I'm saying. Not only, you know, is there some toxic tethering going on, there is some kind of brain dead, buck broken babble that's kind of permeating. Black Americans are tribal. I mean, people are tribal, you know what I mean? I don't think it's limited to one specific group, but according to this person, he said black Americans aren't tribal. You said we all like that. Africans or African Americans are black. Okay, but the thing is, we don't. Why are you trying to collapse our identity with African identity and African tribalism? It's not the same. We can't clean up African tribalism. Africans have to do that on the continent of Africa. We can only focus on what we need to do here. If we're so tribalistic, we need to focus on the terrors of tribalism here, right? If we have all these issues, we need to focus on these issues here. And these other groups, they say it all the time. They're not coming over here to fight for civil rights. They're not coming over here to help, you know, our justice claims. They're coming over here because this, what they see is the land of milk and honey. And that's okay if they're coming over here for opportunity to hustle and stuff. But stop trying to pretend like these people came over here to unite because they were looking for their long lost brothers and sisters. And if we're all African, right, and that's my motherland, why didn't anybody from my motherland come get me? No, seriously, right? Is that anything to respect? Those are your brothers, those are your cousins, but none of my brothers came and got me. None of my cousins came and got me. None of my so-called family members came and got me. Instead, they came over here and said, no, we're not the same. And I'm supposed to pretend like, no, we are the same. Based on what? Based on feelings and vibes? Because that's all you have, Alexander Bryan. You have feelings and vibes, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it. But what I'm saying is you have some pie in the sky, Pan-African aspirations. It's not rooted in anything tangible. Yeah, I'm giving my opinion just like you are, you know what I mean? And people do know the facts. It's just you haven't stated any facts. You just stated your opinion, and that's okay. I've stated a combination of facts and opinion. You've stated your opinion. I'm born in America in South Carolina from a family of slaves. I'm African first. Well, salute to you. Calling myself foundational is tribal. Well, I mean, you can say that about anything. Calling yourself Hebrew is tribal. Calling yourself Israelite is tribal. You know what I mean? Calling yourself African American is tribal, right? No different than the whites. Italian, tribal. Irish, tribal. German, tribal. People are tribalistic. I always say that tribalism is the granddaddy of them all. Tribalism is above racism. Racism is birthed by tribalism. So yeah, I mean, I don't think people have issues with tribalism, right? You said this is the issue with us, and we're trying to get a bit understanding. Why did gray men call me stupid if that's what I was taught? Yeah, I mean, I don't think that you're stupid. You said, so you're saying African Americans were already here? I'm saying that some of them were, because I don't really know who you're talking about when you say African American, and that's why I know you're fixated on holding on to that term, but no one really knows who you're talking about. Elon Musk is African American. You can try to pretend that he's not, but look at the definition and look at the nebulous wording. It talks about people being of African descent. Is Elon Musk not of African descent? So he's African American, just as well as Obama, Kenyan American. He's African American. French Montana, who's Moroccan, Morocco is in Africa. He's African American. So historically, we knew who you were talking about, but now in 2026, when you say African American, I don't know who you're talking about. I would say, you know what I mean? There were some people that were already here that were reclassified, and there were many people that were brought over in the transatlantic slave trade. I will say that they said less than 5% of the people were brought here to the continental US. There was at least several decades of people, being you know, they kind of downplay it as like breeding farms. They would call them stud farms and other stuff like that, you know. So there was a combination, but when someone says that, hey, whatever terminology you want to use, you want to call yourself colored, Negro, freedman, or whatever, right? That group had an ethnogenesis because they became a mixture of multiple races and ethnicities, right? When they'll say, hey, these people came from West Africa, and then look how many countries it is in West Africa today. All those countries in West Africa don't consider themselves to be the same people, even though they're literally African and they're literally from this particular region of West Africa. So even if all these so-called slaves or enslaved people came from West Africa, I mean, doesn't mean that they were the same phenotypically in terms of a tribal and a cultural sense. But when someone is saying that, hey, they're a foundational Black American freedman, the legal political term that they had on paper for us was freedman. They're saying that we're a mixture of all those groups. They're not necessarily picking and choosing. They're not saying, hey, I'm only African. They're saying that, yeah, I got some African in me. They're not saying that they're only indigenous. They're saying I got some indigenous in me, some European in me, and that mixture is what creates what you would call an African American. Now, whether you subscribe to that or not, doesn't really matter, believe whatever you want. They say race is a social construct, so much of the construct is about the adherence of the public, what the public believes and cosigns, you know what I mean? Now, a social construct doesn't mean that things are going to be always, you know uh finite, right? It's typically fluid things. There's kind of ebbs and flows with this social construct. He said, that's my point, but you alluded to that Africans are tribal, but Black Americans aren't. I said everybody was tribal. So what did I say specifically that I said Black Americans aren't tribal? I mean, I'll say Black. I said we have our tribe. Our tribe is Black. You know what I mean? And when I said tribes, because this person was saying like, "What's my tribe?" Right? And I don't see someone identifying their lineage necessarily as a tribe. However, if you want to be technical and in a semantic sense, you could say that, right? But all the foundational Black American is saying that I don't want to be called an African American. I'm a foundational Black American. So no one thinks that the term African American is tribal, but somehow foundational Black American, that term is tribal. And you said there wasn't any ninjas here before 1492. Well, honestly, I don't really care about 1492. The country, because sometimes I think this is an unnecessary conversation, and then people want to try to say, no, y'all wasn't here, y'all was pretendians, and it's like, who really cares, bro? All I know is that the country of America didn't exist in 1492. So when we're talking about our American thing, we don't really need to go to 1492. We don't need to go to 1392. So that's kind of like an irrelevant conversation, you know what I mean? And people just want to kind of debate on it. But even if you win that debate, aha, I won. There were no ninjas here before 1492. Okay, like what did that prove? Are you saying that this population is still not foundational to the creation of the country? And if that still holds true, then the arguments or whether you hear at this point doesn't even really matter. They got people that came over here in the 1800s that are Irish that are considered the true Americans and all this other stuff. So even if you said, oh, well, y'all didn't come in 1492, y'all came here in 1600. Well, America wasn't even a country in 1600. So it's still before the country was presently constructed. So, I mean, I don't even know why people engage in that debate. I think it's just for spits and giggles. So I was born here through slavery. What should I call myself? Well, that's the thing, Alexander Bryant. You can call yourself whatever you want. I'm just saying that other people will call themselves different things. I'm not into the bashing and say you need to call yourself this. What I'm saying is that people try to overly Africanize people, and sometimes people try to overly blackify people. There's biracial people who don't want to be identified as black. They're saying I'm a mixture, so I want to acknowledge the mixture of both, or however many races and ethnicities I have. And I don't think people should be trying to force and project blackness on them just because you think if the cops pull them over, they'll be seen as black, right? That doesn't really matter, right? Because we're talking about a social construct, right? And people have intellectual sovereignty, which means they can identify how they choose to identify. So if you want to call yourself Moorish, Hebrew, Israelite, African American, that's fine. It's just know that other people will challenge it, other people will question it, will scrutinize it, or some people may give you a thumbs up and say, hey, I choose to identify as something else. I don't think it really truly needs to be contentious. It's just people try to make it contentious based on, their own beliefs. It's fine. It's your opinion. It's your perspective, right? And then when there's a census, there is a box that says other. So if you're not okay with black or African American, you could always check the other box and write Hebrew, write Moor, write Nubian. I'm for intellectual sovereignty, for people identifying how they want to identify. And ultimately, the collective masses will choose what they feel is comfortable. Some people hate the term black. Black is just a color. Okay, fine. Don't call yourself black and just kind of stay out of black business, right? If you are identifying as something else, where is the community that you've built as something else? If you're an African, and I'm just not saying you specifically, I'm speaking in general. If you're an African American, then build up the African American community. You don't even really need to know about what the so-called blacks are doing because you're not one of them. You know what I mean? If you're not Latino, why would I care about what the Latinos are doing or building if I'm not Latino? Not to say that I want to see them fail or I want to see them disenfranchised. It's just like they're not worried about what I'm doing and I'm not worried about what they're doing because they're trying to enrich their fellow so-called Latino brethren. So many people that hate the term black and foundational black and so on and all this stuff, they spend a lot of time yelling at people rather than galvanizing the people that believe in what they believe in. And most of the time, their belief is like, I want to tear down somebody that doesn't use the same terminology or phraseology as me. It's like, okay, you hate the term FBA. It's like no one is forcing you to call yourself that. So then again, like, why are you so triggered? Because Tariq Nasheed is like, Tariq, that nigga ain't my daddy. I don't know that nigga. You know what I mean? So it's like, it just starts getting a little bit goofy. But let me play a little bit more of the video and then I'm going to get ready to get up out of here. He said, I responded to what you said. I'm just pushing back to any idea that we don't have any African blood in our tomahawk. Well, you don't got to push back on me on that because I think some may have some. I'm not of the point that, hey, we have no African ancestry. I'm just saying that, you become racially, genetically, phenotypically different. You still may have, African genetics and African phenotype, but that doesn't necessarily make you a continental African. And that's all I'm saying. You know what I mean? And then sometimes people, they do try to frame everything as you's a pretendian, right? But they don't still have the same smoke for a bunch of Lily W's. There's literal pretendians, right? The $5 ones, the Lily W's, and they don't care about them, right? It's just like a concerted effort to like try to tear down anyone with melanated and try melanin and try to just make them just a generic African. So they don't care where they're from in Africa. They just don't want you claiming any part of America, but just claim, there's specific parts of America that some people can claim. Some people know about. You don't know anywhere in Africa, but you just have to claim it just because of vibes. And trust me, bro, you know what I mean? And then people like, well, you don't know your history. And then you look in your history and you can't find nothing. It's just, well, you didn't look hard enough and stuff. So, yeah. But according to the, the Pan-Africanists, we all have African blood, right? But like I said, no one is pressing Jamaicans to call themselves African Jamaican, right? It's already allegedly understood that Jamaicans are of African descent. So they don't need to call themselves African Jamaican. All right, Haitians don't need to call themselves African Haitian. if it's understood that they have African ancestry. So that's all many are saying. They're like, yeah, man. And plus, just trying to, tie yourself to Africa in every instance is just really making yourself comparable to immigrants. You can be, if ancestrally we're already tied to Africa, like I said, do we really need to say that? Try calling yourself FBA and not claim Tariq is like being a Christian and not claiming Jesus. Well, you could call yourself whatever you want. I mean, you could say that with anything, right? Do you say this with Nigerians, right? When Nigerians call themselves Nigerian, are you saying that they need to claim that white lady that came up with Nigeria? Just saying. Have you ever called yourself African American? I mean, did you thank Jesse Jackson? Did you thank the DNC? Did you thank the Boule for that? So, yeah. But then it's the same thing where it's like, oh, okay, I'm going to drop the foundational. I'm just Black American. Okay, so who is Black American attributed to? Foundational Black American is attributed to Tariq. But what is Black American attributed to? Oh, my bad. I don't want it associated. I don't want it associated with Tariq. So I'm going to just call myself Black American. But who is Black American attributed to? And when you talk about an African American, there's trademarks on African American. So again, should I go look up the people who have African American trademark and then say that, they're the leader of the lineage? Who came up with the term Roman? My parents fought to be called Black, so that's why I always say no foundational needed. What is not true? Well, it shouldn't be needed, but now, Akon. Is Akon not calling himself a Black American? Cynthia Erivo, is she not calling? Idris Elba is calling himself a Black American. Actually, it is. Actually, it is. But I'm going to just play a little bit more of the video. A salute to the chat so I can get up out of here. But, I like the back and forth. But actually, it is. And no one could, you can't like trademark a lineage. It's just like you're trademarking a aspect of here, clothes, merch, or whatever, right? But it's okay. But then again, like I said, fine. If somebody is just, I'm just Black American, how are you any different than Akon? How are you any different than a newly arrived immigrant? A newly arrived immigrant is a newly arrived immigrant who has American citizenship is a Black American. You can say that they're not, but on paper they are. Technically they are. So, hold on. You said that's an FBA talking point. You can't trademark African American. American Inc. is trademark. That's literally what I just said. I said you can trademark aspects of that. So you're okay with African American Inc. as long as it ain't African American. Like, bro, what are you even talking about, bro? And like I said, bro, if you're Black American, fine. Like, what is your issue, bro? If somebody calls themselves foundational and you're calling yourself Black American, like, how is that stopping you? Right? Just go on continuing calling yourself a Black American. But then again, you can't truly tell me who a Black American is. You can't tell me that Akon is not a Black American. Oh, no, he's Senegalese. Is he Black? Is he not classified as Black in this country? Is he not American citizen? So there, he's a Black American. I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with that. I'm just saying there's no ethnic distinction. And I do appreciate you for rocking out, Alexander. And I appreciate your perspective. You encyclopedias, you know what I mean? It's not an echo chamber. But let me just play this other video and then I'll get ready to shut her down. I might come back and hit y'all with a double header later, though, depending on how these things go. You said, it's not stopping me. I just push back against cults. That's all. So again, like the slick shots. So, okay, fine. So foundational Black American is a cult, but calling yourself Black American, that's not a cult. So it's calling yourself Freedman a cult? So calling yourself Freedman, not a cult. Black American, not a cult. African American, not a cult. Foundational Black American, that's a cult. Why? Because you said so? Okay. I can take constructive criticism, but you made some good points that I didn't understand, but I'm on code now. Nah, you on good. You was on code before. It wasn't like you was off code. We just had a different perspective. And that's okay. We can disagree respectfully. It's a beautiful thing. Like, we don't have to agree on everything. It doesn't have to be contentious for us to come together. You know what I mean? We can have heated debate, heated discourse, but still come together. I mean, I would take it if y'all in the Bay, I would take any of y'all brothers to lunch or dinner or anything. You know what I mean? And we can have discourse over dinner. You know what I mean? That's what this is all about, anyways, right? So that's what I'm saying. Like, I would say, I don't think any of these quote unquote labels, whether people use them or not, that's not stopping people from coming together. And if it is, then like, how are you kind of trying to preach, right? Imagine like, hey, I'm trying to unify. Oh, I can't unify. Why? Because you call yourself foundational Black American and I'm just a Black American. So because one word, you call yourself Black American, I put a foundational in front and now you don't want to unify? Or imagine me saying I don't want to unify with somebody because they call themselves African American. Whether I call myself that or not, if somebody is standing on code for the lineage, for the community, I don't mind working with someone that identifies as a Moor. I don't mind working with someone that identifies as an Israelite. I don't go around calling myself an Israelite, but I'm not going to say that, hey, I won't work with somebody because you're part of the cult. Like, what has been seeming more like a cult? Israelites versus FBA. A lot of times people were saying, FBA, y'all just online. So now it went from just being online to a cult. So calling yourself FBA, is a cult, but calling yourself African American is not. That's just what? Nature? You said a Moor wouldn't call themselves FBA, but that's my point. You don't need to call yourself FBA. But my point is, would a Moor say, I can't come together, I can't unite? If we're all melanated people, right? If we're all supposedly African, why can't a Moor come together with an FBA? Instead, they want to have disdain just based on someone else's identification. The same claims that you can make, well, FBA is a cult. Can't someone say that about the Moorish Science Temple? Can't someone say that about the Hebrews? Can't someone say that about the Muslims? Do you think the Muslims are a cult? I've seen more cultish behavior from the Muslims. They despise, well, I get it. They despise the Black, and this is the thing. Many people that despise the Black, they're always talking about the Black. A lot of people say they despise Black. You got coons like Anton Kuntan Daniels, who says he doesn't identify as Black. He identifies as a Christian. But every time you see him, he talks about Black on Black crime and Black this and Black that. Many of the people who despise Black is just like the people that say they have Black fatigue. They have Black fatigue, but all the music they listen to, Black. You know what I mean? All of the shows they watch are about Blackness. All of their topics surround Blackness, but you have Black fatigue. So it's like, do you really despise Blackness, or are you kind of secretly obsessed? I lean towards the obsession. They hate the word foundation because they can't tether onto it. Based on my observation, that's what I've seen, because I don't really see like what issue people would have. Is literally a foundational Black American is just a Black American. The foundational was only added just because people have muddied the waters and no one truly knows who you're talking about when you say a Black American. We have this Angolan tether named Matt Nuclear who knows that he's African, and when it's convenient, he'll say that he's from Angola. When he wants to scold the Black community, he says that I'm a Black man and a Black American. So again, who are you talking about? I'm not with the whole bash and disparage people and all this other type of stuff. However, I do, fight fire with fire, but just in terms from a rhetorical sense, right? I just don't see a issue of people trying to call for ethnic specificity. You said the fact that people don't see the issue people have with FBA only proves it's a cult. Well, it doesn't really kind of matter what issue you have with it, right? You don't identify as FBA, so it doesn't really matter, right? Your life is not stopping, you know what I mean? Your bills are still being paid, your family is still being loved on, so it's really kind of a nothing burger, right? No one is being forced to call FBA, right? And people say they have issues. How could you have an issue with something you don't identify? You don't identify as FBA, you don't want anything to do with FBA. but still, you're holding on and harboring an issue with it. Because if you ask people that identify as FBA, do you have an issue with Moors? Do you have an issue with Israelites? They'll say, nah, I don't have an issue with them. But somehow all these other groups have an issue with FBA. Okay. And it's only with people that identify as FBA, but technically that's just a title of a population. FBA are the so-called African Americans. FBA are the so-called Black Americans. So what you're really saying is you have an issue with Black Americans who identify a certain type of way. I mean, people who vote Democrat, I mean, isn't that cultish? People who are like, I'm a conservative, and you put your conservative before your lineage, isn't that cultish? A lot of these religious people, I mean, those are the true cults, right? So we're overlooking all of these religious zealots to label somebody a cult just because they want to delineate. Okay. We got Big Rig says, I'm American, but not African American. Hey, don't say that, because it sounds like you in a cult. No, that term is 7 years old. That's like saying, well, African American, that term legally was introduced. I mean, people have said it before, but it was legally introduced in 1988. But does that mean that the African American population originated in 1988? Okay, cool. So Foundational Black American is an online group, not a lineage, but Black American is a lineage. Make it make sense. Black American is a lineage. You add the foundational. That ain't a lineage. That's a cult. Okay. I may go back live a little bit later today. I'm going to try to play a little bit of this video. But yeah. So I know Psychopatheist, it just sounds like you just have disdain for Tariq and FBA, which, hey, more power to you. Okay. You said Black American is a lineage, so I don't get why you're mad about the foundational. And you still haven't, you keep dodging the question and you keep going all around to not answer anything else. Who are you talking about when you say Black American? Are you talking about Idris Elba? Are you talking about Drake? Are you talking about Cynthia Erivo? Are you talking about Akon? Who are you even talking about?
What's wrong with being African?
Ain't nothing wrong with being African. It's just that I'm not African. I was born in America.
So your bloodline, are you Black?
Yeah, I'm Black.
Black what? You just Black?
I'm a Black man, nigga. Black what? Black man, nigga. What are you talking about? I'm Black. It's Black niggas all over the world. Do that mean they African? It's Black niggas and it's Black Cubans. It's Black niggas everywhere. That don't mean that they African because you Black. Black don't mean African.
No, I didn't mean to say that, but we're from Africa, bro. It's the heart of a Black man. That's where we're from. It's the land of the Black man.
I'm not African. If you want to be African, that's on you.
I think the conversation about title and identity is starting to spread. I think more and more people are starting to kind of discuss this topic. But what I really want to know is, do you guys think that by us having been called African American, that's the reason why a lot of people still see us as immigrants? Like they still kind of view us in like that immigrant class, as if we're not really from here, we don't really belong here, because you're attaching a continent to the American identity as it pertains to us. So in a way, it kind of does put, for people who are not familiar with who we are or our history in the country, may be confusing, and it may make them think that we're in the same immigrant boat as everybody else. And hence the reason why people are coming at us like, you guys are next up to be deported. You guys can be deported too. You guys don't belong here too. Like stupid shit like that. And also, do you think that the title should be legally changed? Should there be a legal title for only the descendants of the freedmen? Hence, I might as well go ahead and bring up the petition that is still up on my bio. The link is in my bio, to change our name legally. basically solidifying us as a separate and protected class. So the full petition is still up. We do still need more signatures. So click the link in my bio to sign. I think it only takes a couple of seconds. We're not requiring any donations or any.
Okay. So you said there's people in Thailand, they're black. My boy was there for a month and couldn't believe it. Yeah, there's a lot of Fijians as well. They got thicker hair, afros, all of the phenotypes. But if you try to tell them they're African, they're going to be like, hell no, like we're Asiatic people. My bad. I kicked myself out. But yeah, just because you're black, it doesn't mean you're from Africa. It doesn't mean that you don't have African ancestry. You may be from Africa. It just doesn't mean that you're from Africa, right? And there's a difference between being a continental African than rather having African genetics and ancestry. And no one else is told to do this, right? Because they love to say we're all African. Then why isn't everyone else calling themselves African? There's no African Jamaican. There's no African Haitian. There's no African Brazilian. If anything, they'll call themselves Hispanic. I'm Afro Latino. I'm Afro Hispanic. So that's not African. That's not black. Latino is not black. Hispanic is not black. There's black Latinos. There's black Hispanics, but it doesn't mean the same thing. There's indigenous people here. Now, people try to say, hey, we all came from there, but there are many Tainos that if you talk to them and say that they came from Africa, they will push back on that. And then you just want to try to push the trust me, bro. You'll say, oh, you feel me? Y'all just believe the white man, but like it was the same white man that told you, it was the same one that told you we were from Africa. Which part is cap? Elaborate. Are you saying there's no Taino people that are saying they're indigenous to the land? What is cap? But yeah, so I think I'm about to get up out of here. But I'm gonna see. I'm gonna hit some visuals. But you says this has been so interesting to listen to. You said if you're black, your ancestors come from Africa. When did they come from Africa? Hundreds of years ago. So let's just say, cool. Your ancestors came from Africa hundreds of years ago. Okay. So you got to call yourself African based on hundreds of years of history that you don't know. But that's the point. It doesn't really matter if you have African genetics. What is the obsession with calling yourself African, right? Even let's just say hypothetically someone did come from Africa. You're not psychopathia. I haven't seen or heard you pushing for Jamaicans and all the people in the Caribbean to put an African in front of their name, even though you believe they came from Africa. So let's just go and concede that what you're saying is true. Even if you came from Africa, what is with the obsession of calling yourself African? If you're the man of the house and it's already understood you're the man of the house, you don't need to go around and saying, don't forget, I'm the man of the house. I thought it was already understood. I thought it was already understood that we were African. So what is the obsession with calling ourselves African? And if you're obsessed with black Americans having an African American in front of their names, go tell the people in the Caribbean. Most of the so-called Africans were brought to the Caribbean, yet nobody in the Caribbean has an African in front of their name. But does that make them any less African? You've never heard of anyone calling themselves African Brazilian, yet you believe Brazilians are African. By them calling themselves Brazilian, does that make them any less African? And this is what they say. Everybody has African genetics, but not everyone has to call themselves African. Many white people have a significant amount of African genetics, but they don't have to call themselves African. They don't have to call themselves African European. They don't have to call themselves African Irish. We all came out of Africa. Africa was the birthplace. Africa is the motherland for all civilization, except all civilization doesn't have to call themselves African. Only Black Americans. And don't call yourself foundational Black American, because that's a cult. African American is not a cult. Black American, not a cult. Just only foundational is. I'm not saying you was. I'm saying I'm speaking in general. So I responded to your comment and I went on a general tirade, because if you see my title, it says the desperate attempt to Africanize our entire existence. But you actually are kind of calling everybody African. You're saying that, hey, we all came from there. So aren't you calling us African by saying we all came from Africa? If we all came from Africa, you're saying that we're African. So are you saying that we are African, but we shouldn't call ourselves African? Because if that's what you're saying, it's the same thing that I said. You said, no, not everybody does not have African genetics. So it goes back and forth. There's the outer Africa theory where it's like everyone came from Africa, but then it's like, oh, well, no, not everyone did come from Africa, but just only you dark-skinned people. And then there's dark-skinned people all over the world, and you say, yeah, well, they came from Africa, but then you just said everyone didn't come from Africa, or they don't have African genetics. But that's the thing. When all of these things are the social construct, right? African is a relatively modern term in terms of the grand scheme of human population, right? So when did this population become African? It's all an estimate. No one could truly say who came up with the term African. Was it a Black African? Was it a Roman? Was it an Asian? You don't really know. It's just like, oh, trust me, bro. But unfortunately, but you said this is why I don't be in the chat. I'll be in the clouds again. Nah, I appreciate you, Clemmy. Hopefully you stay you can't make it make sense, because it doesn't. You said our genetics come from Africa. You call yourself, your ethnicity, and your country. Okay, so again, there's plenty of people genetics that come from Africa and they don't call themselves African. So I don't even really understand what the debate is. The only debate is only over one word, foundational, because you said you're Black American and you're okay with calling Black American. You're a Black American. I'm a Black American. The only issue you have is with foundational, and you have an issue with Tariq. I don't know that nigga Tariq. I don't know. I don't agree with everything that he says. He says a lot of stuff I disagree with, but that's the beauty of a race, a culture, a community, right? We don't all have to agree with each other, right? You know what I mean? We can agree respectfully. We can disagree respectfully, right? So, you know, many Palestinians have African ancestry, but well, you said it ain't about Tariq, but then you tried to tie this whole thing to Tariq, saying FBA is a cult. If you say that you FBA, you can't say you FBA without claiming Tariq. Like, you kind of like tried to make it about Tariq when like nobody really even mentioned it. Like, you're the one saying that it's a cult. Like, the people that identify as like, they're not saying, oh, this is my leader, right? Like, nobody is waiting on bated breath for everything that he says. Like, that's kind of like what you're alluding to. But nah, I mean, I will come back and hit y'all with a double header. I kind of got to get up out of here. I have some things to do. You said it's a cult, but anybody could be the minister. I got an issue with the religion. What religion? So now, again, calling yourself Black American, not a religion. Calling yourself foundational Black American, that's a religion. Okay, so what's the Bible? What are the religious principles of this so-called religious cult? I mean, because it's a lot of accusations, but like I said, it's not really like any substance behind the accusations. You talked about the ideology. You never said what the ideology was. You talked about the religion. Like, what religion? I mean, so it's like I said, I don't know. Maybe you got a bone to pick with Tariq or some other people that identified as FBA, but well, you know what? My identity is not based on a website, right? If someone makes a Black American website, would your identity be based on whatever it says? Matter of fact, there's a Black American Wikipedia page. Is your identity based on what the Wikipedia says? Wikipedia is a website and they have a page specifically for Black Americans. Is that a cult? Is your identity based on what Wikipedia says? I haven't even looked at Tariq's website because my identity is not based on what Tariq said. You being a Black American, what website is it based on? And salute to Clemmy. I appreciate you, Clemmy. I acknowledge troll lives do matter. You said that's some sassy shit. Sounds like some underlying issues. That's what I'm trying. Like, what is the true issue? Black American is fine, but foundational Black American is a cult. It just doesn't make any sense. Black Americans and foundational Black Americans are the same people. It's just a different terminology. You said drop the link and invite Psychopathia up. I actually got to really dip. That's why I said I'll probably will come back. You said if you're calling yourself FBA and the official website from the creator of the term set the foundation of the religion, then how could you question it? But again, this same logic, right? This same logic is not applied to Nigerians, right? Just forget this FBA and then apply this to Nigerians. If you calling yourself Nigerian and the official person who created the term Nigerian, how could you question it? The person who created Nigeria was a white person. So what? Is that white person the leader of Nigerians? Well, she created the term. So if you call yourself Nigerian, then what? You're basically bowing down to the white lady who created the term. All terms was created by somebody. Psychopathia, you didn't create the term psycho. Someone else created the term psycho. That's not your term. Someone else created the term foundation. Someone else created the term African, right? Who do you know created the term African? Don't worry, I'll wait. Point to me the Black person that you know that created the term African. You have no issue with claiming Africa, but you don't even know who created the term. And if you do, let me know who created the term. How could you question it? And then when you come up with the person who created the term African, are they the leader of the African population? Don't worry, I'll wait. And yeah, that's why I said I'm going to have to just shut it down. You said he is a troll from another sector and they discuss things like that. What sector? I know, the conscious sector. I was going to say either the Umar or the Black sector. Conscious, I mean, what is conscious about this? So I'm going to play a series of some short visuals. Hey, my boo, I'm here to learn, but I'm also here to teach. You said I'm 15 minutes in the past. Yeah, Roger, come on, bruh. Roger, you got to... Oh, you said he's not a troll. I thought you said that he was a troll. You said, show me the ideology for African, and then your comparison would be legit. That's the thing. There is no ideology for African. It's very vague and nebulous because, again, you don't know who you're talking about. If you say African culture, who are you talking about? Are you talking about Moroccan culture? Egyptians? Senegalese people? Nigerians? African culture. What is African culture? You don't know. So the same thing, if you don't know what African culture is, then you can't know what African ideology is. Because if you ask a Nigerian who's African and a Ghanaian who's African, if they have the same ideology, you know that they don't. So then again, what is African ideology? It just doesn't exist. You agree with me. Like I said, there's no such thing as African culture. And if you agree that there's no such thing as African culture, I was going to get you. I'm glad you... I'm joking because I know you a smart brother, because I was like, African? Like, I didn't say African, but I know that you were saying African, right? Yeah, there's no such thing as African culture, but that means there's no such thing as African ideology. So if we know that there's no such thing as African culture and there's no such thing as African ideology, this would buffer the point that, hey, how could you try to Africanize our culture when there's literally no such thing as African culture? Our culture that we have here is not reproduced anywhere in Africa. And if it is reproduced, it's a replica of what already was created here. Man, I don't just debate like random stuff. And like I said, there's no debate. He's already made up what his mind is. He believes FBA is a cult. He doesn't like Tariq. And it's like, what is there to debate? I'm not going to debate him and say, no, you should like Tariq, because I don't even know this nigga Tariq. You know what I mean? You should identify as FBA. Like, he doesn't have to. If he says he's a black American, fine. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. You know what I mean? I'm just having a discussion because he thinks that it's a cult, but I haven't, seen any proof that it's a cult. Okay. Well, honestly, I don't really know what argument you're making, because it sounds like you agree with me, but just like the only disagreement you have is that the word foundational, and that, you think that that no black people have indigenous ancestry. Anybody with melanin is African. Outside of that, I really don't know what the disagreement are. There's so many countries in the continent of Africa. Each country has its own cultural beliefs, which is why you can't say that there's an African culture. You can say that there's a distinct Nigerian culture or Senegalese culture, but that can't be framed under a generic banner of African culture. You know what I mean? Just as well as the same thing people try to do here, talk about black culture, like what are you talking about? And they always try to frame some degenerate stuff and say that that's black culture. Well, an aspect of our culture does have degenerate things, but we also have very, delightful things, things that are very enriching, things that are very empowering as well, right? So if there's some random nigga that does a drive-by, that gets framed as black culture. But then if 100 black men graduate from college, that's not considered black culture. One nigga does a drive-by, black culture. 100 black men graduate, nothing to see here. No, that's black culture too. You know what I mean? Ebbs and flows. You said, I agree, is one big blackness, as you put it. Yeah, and the whole flat blackness, you know, those days are over. And I don't know why anyone should have an issue with flat blackness, because, again, on the continent of Africa, 3,000 tribes. Does that sound united to you? If they're all African on the continent of Africa, what's the point of 3,000 tribes? What is the point of 2,000 different dialects? Imagine this. You're in San Jose in California and you drive to San Francisco, but you can't understand the people in San Francisco because they speak a different dialect. That's how many places are in Africa. They're within miles of each other. They go to this place where people phenotypically look like them, but they say, hey, we're not the same. You can't believe you're the same and need 3,000 different tribes. And then they come over here and say, oh, well, we're all the same. No, we're not. You said Buddy is on that Side Netter TV. I think bro was actually on Side Netter too. Like, you know what I mean? Salute to Side Netter. But yeah, so I'm going to just play a couple series of visuals and then I will be up out of here. And I do appreciate y'all rocking out, because I told y'all this one would be a doozy. But I'm going to come back later and hit y'all with a double header. You know what I mean? Maybe, the trolls, the cult people will come back. But yeah.
If you feel the vibe, like, share, and subscribe. We growing on this journey. Come and take a ride. If you wanna slide with that dude, be easy. We going all the way to the top, believe me. All the way to the top, believe me.
So Sincere says, but in truth, various countries, and salute to Sincere, the sensational and sophisticated, but in truth, various countries in Africa are multicultural and influenced heavily by European and Asian customs. And this is what I'm saying. You can't truly call that African culture. Even if you look at the dashiki is African. Is it though? Look at where it was made at and look at where it's presently being made at, and then tell me how African it is. So these people, the people from Africa, Africans from Africa, say that Africa is the most culturally and ethnically diverse place. So then these culturally and ethnically diverse people come to America and pretend we're all the same. They pretend we're the same when they're on a continent of people looking at each other saying that we're all different. And when we say, hey, actually, we are different, we're not saying that we're better than you or that we want to marginalize or subjugate you based on those differences. We're just acknowledging the differences. And you're supposed to pretend that those differences don't exist based on skin pigment. So, yes, please like, share, subscribe to the channel. It won't cost you a fee. The likes are free. And that was a good point, rather a great point. So I do appreciate Sincere, the sophisticated one, dropping the knowledge. And this one has been fruitful. So I'm going to hit y'all with a banger, a couple series of short videos, and then we will be out of here. So without further ado.
Yeah. Hey. B-Eazy Dat Dude, yeah. Shit so hot it's burning up. Just go ahead and turn this up. I bring the pain like an aftermath of a car wreck. There's a lot of niggas that say they real. To me, that shit is far-fetched. Them cats is pussy. They really is on some feminine stuff. I rock up on them with the 40 ounces. It's the definition of adrenaline rush. What it do is sweet like cinnamon puffer. My niggas is rough like Willow Pass. Grew up out on Mary Mac, but I used to hang on Willow Pass. These birds that I roll with, outcasts and misfits. Better zip lips so you get hit when the fifth spit. Flat line in your hit. Trap habits is black magic, no voodoo. Get the bands like Goku for the cocaine, they go cuckoo. Most these niggas is foo-foo, so I'm shitting on them like doo-doo. I can't fuck with y'all like tofu, I'm just saying, man, like Goku. Bad bitches at the house with me watching Netflix or Roku. Fuck them both at the same time, and I swear to God it was so cool. Street legend, real boss, I call shots cause I'm still saucy. I know some G's to the bike crack on shite racking and fly back out to Millwall. When they hear me flow, they say I be burning up, burning up. Cookie to the draw is what we burning up, burning up. What you ain't know, oh, we burning up, burning up. This shit so high, it's burning up. Just go ahead and turn this up. When you hear me flow, say I be burning up, burning up. Cookie to the draw is what we burning up, burning up. What you ain't know, oh, we burning up, burning up. This shit so high, it's burning up. Just go ahead and turn this up.
So I gotta give a shout out to the chat, and I appreciate the marvelous my boo for sticking around. I appreciate you, and go whip up some snacks. You feel me? I know them children is hungry. You feel me? So go whip up some snacks, get you some Gushers and some Capri Suns. Hold on. I would say American free blacks in America are different from the West Coast to the East Coast. We differ. Yeah, and that's all we're saying. There's nothing wrong with being different. We can still come together and embrace our differences, embrace our cultural heritage. We don't have to erase and disenfranchise each other culturally just in the name of melanin and just in the name of blackness. For instance, right? I always bring this example up. Jerk chicken is specifically Jamaican culture. I didn't grow up eating jerk chicken, curry goat, plantains, none of that stuff. Not saying that it's bad or that you shouldn't eat it. I'm just saying it's from a different culture. That culture should have ethnic specificity, ethnic distinction, so we can highlight the beauty of said culture, right? I didn't grow up eating jollof, right? But there are various cultures that do, right? Highlight the jollof and the specific culture that it represents. Don't say that jollof rice is black culture, because no, it's not. That has nothing to do with my culture. I've literally never even eaten jollof, you know what I mean? And I'm not saying that it's bad. I'm just saying that that's of a different culture. We need to highlight that and represent. We don't need to look at sushi and say that, hey, Cambodians are Asian, so we can give credit to Cambodians for creating sushi. Or guess what? People from Pakistan are considered Asian. So we have to give them credit for sushi because sushi comes from Asians and Pakistani people are Asian. No, we shouldn't do that. Just as well as we shouldn't say that, hey, foundational Black Americans, really many in the South, but also in New York, and we don't get enough credit on the West Coast, right? Those were the people who created hip hop, right? It wasn't someone in Senegal. It wasn't someone in Burkina Faso. So because you have a similar level of melanin as someone from Burkina Faso, then that means that they helped create hip hop? No, they didn't, and we don't have to pretend. But I appreciate you, Alexander. You said, what do you guys in the Bay Area eat for breakfast? Well, me, I'm a waffle guy myself. But people like flapjacks. You know, if you ain't Muslim, then you know you gotta have some swine. I like biscuits. You feel me? Not the ones that some people tap dance for, the buttered biscuits, but I do love a good biscuit, right? So you can do like a biscuit and some chicken, but I think like the simple stuff is like waffles and pancakes. I'm mainly a waffle dude. Waffles, eggs, bacon, you all good. But you know, we have a lot of you know, sometimes people do like a you know, like a kind of like a alcoholic breakfast where they had like these Bloody Marys, like, and then you have like a I think it's like a eggs O'Brien, where it's like eggs, potato, peppers, and all this stuff like that. So it all depends. But yeah, me, I'm a waffle guy myself. I'm a Lego my ego guy. Speaking of commercials, those Lego my ego commercials used to be fire. They got to bring those back. But salute to the Lego my egos. You said here in SC we eat shrimp and grits for breakfast. Well, Alexander, when I come over there, you're going to have to introduce me to your lovely wife, your lovely family, and y'all going to have to take me to eat some breakfast, you feel me? I want some of them African dishes that your wife makes, because I had some African food. It literally was just like it was something crazy. It was like some rice and something else, and it was so spicy that, bro, my nose started running. I'm like, what the hell? Don't get me wrong, I love a good spice. Just like my hot links. I need my link so hot when I bite into the link that I start crying. Like one bite, I need a drip of sweat. That's how hot I like my links, right? But I had an African dish. It was so flavorful, bro. Bruh, I ate it, and out of nowhere, bro, my nose just started running, bro. I was like, I was good, but like my nose just got hella snotty out of nowhere. So actually, I kind of want that dish again. Maybe it'll help clear out some more mucus, but it was just so flavorful. But bro, every bite, bro, my face was sweating, bro. Like cats thought you feel me? They thought I got out of a sauna. I'm like, nah, I just ate an African dish, you feel me? So salute to that African dish. I don't know what it was, but that stuff was so spicy. But you feel me? I loved it. Said one day we'll link up. I come to the Bay every year to watch the Niners. Well, I'm not a Niner fan. I do support the Raiders, you feel me? Even though they moved to Vegas, you feel me? But I support the Oakland Raiders, and then when they was the LA Raiders, now I still rock with them as the Vegas Raiders. It's just I'll never wear any gear that says Las Vegas. It have to be Oakland or LA. I really don't even wear LA Raider gear, mainly Oakland. However, I will wear some LA gear. I got like a Marcus Allen jersey and a Bo Jackson one. But yeah, so I appreciate y'all for still rocking out, man. So let me hit y'all with a couple more visuals.
Be easy, tell me how it feel. Ooh, tell me how it feel. To be real, to be really that dude. Be easy, that dude. Ay, 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 that dude. Oh, be easy, that dude. Boy, stop playing. You know you that dude and been that dude. Back in the day, he do, he back with another one, another one, another one, another one. Be easy, he is that dude. Ooh, he is that dude, be easy, he is the one that you can call so he can get the job done. He about to reign supreme if you thought his run would soon end. He just getting started though, so go ahead and tune in. Be easy, he is that dude. Ooh, 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 he is that dude.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained? Is this not why you are here?
Follow. Be easy. You know you want to.
We're waiting.